So, good morning and welcome to the Lusail International Circuit in Qatar. We're here, and this is the Asia Talent Cup photo shoot for the 2022 season. First port of call out of the way. I did not say 2021 or even 2020, as we know the last several years have all been rolled into one. Yes, this is a 2022 Asia Talent Cup season. Myself, Matt Dunn, and Fran Wild will be bringing you the commentary from this series for the year. And this is our first look at the class of 2022. Fran, a lot of new faces out there this year. I'm quite excited for this one.
A lot of new faces, yes, exactly. Like you say, we've only got 6 returning riders in the field, and it's a 20-strong field on the full-time entry list. And this weekend we also have a Qatari wildcard, local rider Hamad Al Sahuti taking part. But yeah, it should be a very interesting one, I think, in 2022, with so many rookies, but they're already fast as well. And it was 3 of the new faces who were actually top in the recent 2-day test we had here at Lusail, which is pretty interesting. And the fastest time in that test as well, which I think was a 2:11.313, only Taio Furusato put in a faster race lap last year in the first race of the season.
Wow.
So they're on the pace.
Yeah.
Anyone who is joining us for the first time, Taio Furusato last year won the Idemitsu Asia Talent Cup with a clean sweep even, every single win. And he'll now be in Moto3 this year once he's back from injury. Get well soon, Taio.
He was so good last year that he was moved mid-season to the Red Bull Rookies, which is like the next step on the road to MotoGP program. Won his first race in Red Bull Rookies, and he was so good he didn't even go to the Junior World Championship for a full season. He's just been moved straight to the Moto3 World Championship. So I think that goes to show the level that we're now seeing in the Asia Talent Cup as well.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible, isn't it? Like we said, for Furusato, yeah, all of the wins in the ATC, and then he skipped the Junior GP, as it is now known, and straight into Moto3, and we're very much looking forward to see him line up once he is back from, I think it's a broken ankle.
Yeah.
But these are the guys who are hoping to follow in his footsteps, and
Absolutely.
quite big footsteps they are. But yeah, I'm excited for the weekend's racing.
Definitely so. Well, this is the photo shoot. We are going to leave you be with these images very shortly, but just to give you a little rundown before our next broadcast will actually be the racing, which is underway on Saturday. But the 2022 Asia Talent Cup does actually have 20 full-time riders. They hail from 7 different countries across Asia and Oceania: Australia, India, Indonesia, Japan, Malaysia, Thailand, and Vietnam as well. I don't think we've had a Vietnamese rider previously, have we not?
No, so Vietnam's new and back in the game this year, so
very
that's
exciting.
Good times.
Yes, and then of course we'll have 6 different rounds. How many races? 12 races over 6 different rounds.
Yeah, it should be a good one as well. We have obviously here in Qatar, and then we have alongside MotoGP at the other races in Asia, and then once again back at Mandalika alongside Superbike. Although one of our Superbike colleagues did in fact inform us it should be more Mandalika.
Mandalika, oh right,
yes.
Okay.
So we're like, why are you saying it wrong?
Not Mandalika.
No.
Yeah, well.
Local knowledge informs it's Mandalika more than Mandalika.
Well, there we go. So we do have 4 rounds in a 2-week period, 4 races I should say in a 2-week period over this one. It gets underway on this Saturday, so you have to join us in the Facebook page, YouTube, your broadcaster, all the general the things normally. We've been going long enough now. If you love the Asia Talent Cup, you'll know where to find it. Go follow on social media.
You will indeed, yeah. And yeah, it should be a good one. Race 1 on Saturday at about 2:35 local time, which is GMT +3, so you have to do your own local maths there. But yeah, and these guys then will be fighting it out for those first 25 points of the year. And I don't think we have said, but a reminder if you are a new viewer, Idemitsu Asia Talent Cup rounds, always 2 races per round, 50 points on the table. So 2 races, and the second one will be on Sunday morning. So thank you very much for joining us. Here's the class of 2022, and we'll hope to welcome you back to more ATC coverage on Saturday for race 1.
Ciao for now.
Eso es duro, depende como... no, estamos allí, ahora te pones allí y lo ves. No estaremos aquí, estaremos allí con el sol del lado.
Vale.
Aquí. A Jorge, bueno, saludaré a tots en genèric i ja està. Vale.
¿Por qué? Siempre los hago solos.
like this, and then we.
Not on it when you push. If it's on air, and you push,
Yeah.
it goes on.
mejor porque
E dopo Vignetto, stai qua? Vado a prendere. Pronti? Vado a prendere col monopattino.
Non ce la fa dentro. No, te non mandare.
Libero. Ritorno.
Però io
Chiamalo, chiamalo. Posto. Vignetto. Prendimi lui. Devo fare, lui adesso lo facciamo.
Per fare Migno un mezzo busto o figura intera in tutto e quanti?
Loro che ho fatto.
Bueno, ya estoy ahí, sí, sí, entero. Aquí las voces más rápidas desde mí.
¿Quién lo ha dicho?
Facciamo anche il casco.
Dixon.
¿Todo bien? Hello MotoGP fans and a very warm welcome to the Losail International Circuit. The countdown to Qatar, well thankfully it's over. It's finally time to go racing in MotoGP 2022. We're just under 24 hours away from the start of one of the most eagerly anticipated seasons that anyone can recall, and we start our build-up with the traditional class photos for Moto3, Moto2 and MotoGP. I'm Matt Burt, sitting alongside me, I'm delighted to say, is Lewis Sotheby with Simon Crafar poised to grab some interviews trackside. Lewis, we've missed the buzz of racing and all the hype that comes with it. It feels great to be back.
It really does. It feels fantastic to be back. We're just a couple of days away now from the action, well and truly beginning on the grid on Sunday night, under the lights, of course, in MotoGP, under the setting sun for Moto3 and Moto2. It's a fantastic feeling, isn't it, to be back racing again. We've been waiting months for this, and as I say, we're just hours away from the first track action of the season. Yeah, and here is our first look at then the class of 2022 in Moto3. The riders just coming from their traditional briefing with race direction, all the do's and don'ts out of the way about what's expected of them in 2022. And there is a man who's hobbling around the paddock already, unfortunately, before we've even turned a wheel in anger so far this year. The Turkish rider, Deniz Öncü, back of course for another year with Hervé Poncheral's Red Bull KTM Tech 3 team. A late tumble, the reason why we see him hobbling around the paddock in that final official test in Portimao, Lewis. Absolutely, he had a crash with his teammate, Adrian Fernandez. The two Tech 3 teammates came together, unfortunately, at Turn 5 at Portimao in pre-season testing. Not the way Deniz Öncü wanted to start his season, especially the way his 2021 ended, with a little bit of controversy surrounding him. Of course, he missed a couple of races due to suspension as a result of that terrible accident that we saw at the Circuit of the Americas. And as I say, it's not the way he wants to start his season, because he'll be certainly looking to be targeting the podium on a more frequent basis this season. He got there a few times last season, came agonisingly close on a couple of occasions to victories. He's clearly a phenomenal talent. Once he calms down, I think we've got a very impressive young rider in the making there. And we are delighted to welcome back the Pink Warrior, 24 years of age now, Anna Carrasco there. You just saw her briefly on screens riding for the BOE SKX KTM team. It's so great to have Anna back in the championship. Of course, the history maker, the first female rider to win a solo class title in history. 4 years ago now, seems like a long time, doesn't it? That 2018 Supersport 300 World Champion title. We just saw there briefly on screens. John McPhee will give you a rundown shortly of the new riders that have come in, the riders that have moved out. Joan
McPhee, one of several riders that has moved teams for 2022. He's now part of Max Biaggi's Stelgarda racing team. Joan McPhee, shut your ears, John, I'm afraid. You're the oldest rider lining up on the Moto3 grid here this weekend. 27 years and 235 days old.
I'm making one of the few riders, if not the only rider on this grid, who has competed in every single Moto3 season. This is the 11th Moto3 season, but we're celebrating 10 years of the Moto3 class since it debuted right here under the lights in 2012. Maverick Viñales taking the very first victory in this class ahead of Romano Fenati, who of course is one of the riders who's moved up to make way for those rookies. 10 of them. Here's one on screen, Josh Watley, with the new British-based Vision Track GP team headed by Michael Laverty. And it is always one of the great things about Moto3 as we go into every new season, the new names, the new blood, and the new enthusiasm that we're going to see. And this is perhaps a year more than any other where we have that fresh injection. As you mentioned, 10 rookies in the Moto3 class, because 10 rookies are moving up to Moto2, as we'll see later on. So in many ways, a new dawn for Moto3, with many of last year's key contenders no longer in the class.
Yeah, mentioning one of those 10 rookies, Lewis, I'm delighted to say we can say hello for the first time on the grid in 2022 as our man Simon Crafo, who's got one of those 10 rookies with him, Diogo Moreira. Simon, down to you.
I have, and Diogo, I was watching the pre-season testing for your class and coming straight in and making a real impression. Can you give us an idea how the winter testing went for you?
Yeah, I'm very happy. Step by step, we get more experience and hours with the bike. It's my first season in Moto3, but yeah, step by step, by race, we get more experience.
Don't worry, I'll let you go as soon as as soon as you have to go. We'll try and keep you for a moment longer. What the listeners and I would love to know is a little bit of background. The KTM you're on now, have you ridden it before this season? And the other thing I'd like to know is how many of the tracks do you know?
The tracks, only Europe tracks, and the bike is different compared to the last year, but yeah, don't worry, because for me it's okay, because I do motocross and the track change a lot, and this is for me it's okay.
Keep up that confidence, best of luck. Thank you for talking to us.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks to Simon. Always great to hear some of the new talent making their way into this exciting Moto3 World Championship, of course, minus the legend, Pedro Acosta last year. What he was able to do, he ripped up the record books, didn't he? He's one of several riders that was in Moto3 last year to move up to Moto2. Acosta, Nicolo Antonelli, Jeremy Alcoba, Romano Fenati, Filip Salac and Gabriel Rodrigo. They've all moved up into Moto2 next year. There is Ana Carrasco. She's obviously back for another season in Moto3, 24 years of age now, best of 8th in Valencia way back in 2013. First full seasons in this championship for Elia Bartolini. Did a handful of races last year and doesn't qualify for the Rookie of the Year prize. Likewise, one of the VR46 Academy riders, Alberto Sura. Out, of course, has gone Darryn Binder. Sadly, no longer with us is Yuki Cooney, Max Koffler and Andy Farid Izdihar. We wish them well in their new adventures. But here's a man who many think, with Pedro Acosta out of the equation, that man there, Leopard Hondas, the Rocket. So many times last year we saw him firing on all cylinders like the Rocket, Dennis Foggia. It's really hard, Lewis, to look past him as the big pre-season favourite, given how strong he was, particularly in the second half of last year.
Absolutely. It'll take a brave person to bet against him to win this year's championship. He will perhaps still feel that he should have won last year's championship. I'm not sure he's quite truly forgiven Darryn Binder for the events of the Algarve Grand Prix, but let's put them to one side now as we start a new season. When he saw the checkered flag, with the exception of Valencia, where he picked the bike up and remounted, he was on the podium and invariably winning the Grand Prix. But the problem that Dennis Foggia found last year, for the 5 victories, they were cancelled out essentially by 7 non-scores, not of all of which were his fault, of course, but he needs to find that consistency this season, get those podiums on a consistent basis, but back them up. On a bad day, he needs to be finishing in the points well inside the top 10 as well, just to keep that championship challenge going. That's what Pedro Acosta was so good at last season. Even when his points lead was starting to be whittled away, he was able to keep that consistent point scoring with a couple of exceptions and keep himself with that decent lead and keep Dennis Foggia at arm's length. I guess what particularly underlines Dennis Foggia's favourite status, though, is the test that we saw back at Portimao. He didn't ride at Jerez in a private test and then turned up at Portimao, was ill for the first day and a half, jumped straight on the bike and was immediately fastest of the lot. That will have sent chills down the spines of his rivals.
Yeah, class rider, the 21-year-old Italian, no question about it. 6 wins now in his Grand Prix career for the Leopard Racing Honda team. Joined, of course, this year by Tatsuki Suzuki. A big job on Suzuki's hands to get on par with Dennis Foggia. Amazing stats. Second in the World Championship last year to the history-making Pedro Acosta. He didn't score points in 7 of 18 Grand Prix last year, but still finished runner-up in that championship. We saw Andrea Migno, they're part of the River Cold Snipers team Honda set up again. He's joined by Alberto Sura again, a couple of products of the Valentino Rossi Academy. Feels so strange, doesn't it, starting a Grand Prix World Championship campaign. The doctor has departed, of course, the legendary Italian, hanging up his leathers at the end of 2021, but his presence still very much felt. Involvement with Academy riders in this Moto3 World Championship, and of course fully fledged efforts backed by the new sponsor Mooney in both Moto2 and for the first time in MotoGP. So here is then our class of 2022 in Moto3 getting set for the obligatory pre-season photos. Which one of these hugely talented young men will prevail at the end of Grand Prix Racing's longest World Championship in history? 21 races we take in from Sunday night, the big opener here in the Losail International Circuit, before it all rounds up Valencia, November the 6th. There's going to be a lot of action in between, Lewis, I think.
Absolutely, yeah. Some new teams to me, colour schemes that you might not be aware of as we show you the rider lineup this year. Here is one of them, the CF Moto squad, which they are linking up with their Bristol GP team. So it's not a new team, but it is a new construction in some ways. CF Moto, much in the same way as Gas Husqvarna, they're a sort of division of KTM, a Chinese division of KTM. So they're spreading their wings in this paddock. Xavi Artigas and Carlos Tatai, the 2 riders who will be in charge for them. We've already mentioned briefly the Vision Track GP squad, which is a British-based team. Josh Watley and Scott Ogden up from the Moto3 Junior World Championship to compete for them. We also have the new MTA squad, which will be running Stefano Neppa as well as Ivan Ortola. I think he's one of the rookies that we can perhaps expect the most from this season. And MT Helmet MSI, another brand new team. We've already heard from one of their riders, Diogo Moreira, the Brazilian. He'll be partnered by Yusei Yamanaka.
Yeah, there's the new 658 squad, of course, Honda lineup. Lorenzo Fallon staying put, the French teenager who didn't score a point last year, was very, very close. Let's quickly pop back down to Simon Crafar in the grid, where he's got to Mildred Couture talking about the prospects, exciting year ahead for Dennis Foggia and Tatsuki Suzuki. Surely both of these men expected to fight for the World Championship. What are his thoughts, Simon?
Yeah, exactly what I can't talk to the riders, so I would love to hear from you, Miodrag, on, well, a lot of people speaking about Dennis being the favourite, also Tatsuki coming in so strong in a fresh team. You know, he knows the Honda well. I would love to hear your thoughts on this coming season.
Yes, everybody's talking that Dennis will be the favourite. Obviously, he finished an amazing season last year. I mean, it was very, very strong the second part of the year. So now it's up to him, and the team is really ready to start this season. But the season is very long. We have lots of races, and we will see here on Friday, and especially during the race, where we are standing with both the riders. And it's just the start. Even if we had a very, very good test preparation in Jerez, in Portimao, we always finished in the first row. But we prefer to not talk too much and to see how we will go. And each race is as different, so we will see.
Everyone with experience in racing does the same thing. They prefer not to talk too much, not to predict what's going to happen. What I'm curious about, Miodrag, with all your experience and last year's experience that finished really strong, is there anything you can share with us that you would like to do differently this year in the team, whether it's team or riders, differently this coming season?
What we would like to do differently is to start with to bring some points from the start. I mean, because in the beginning of the season, Dennis didn't score anything. We were waiting a lot of races for him to score some points, and these points were crucial at the end of the season. So we saw that he could close the gap with Acosta last year, but the results from the beginning of the year were missing. I mean, they were impossible to catch him because we start the season almost at the beginning of the middle of the year.
Last question for you about Tatsuki. I have seen some brilliance from him. We all have seen what he can do. Last year was a bit disappointing for him, and you've signed him. I'm curious what you believe you can do differently with Tatsuki.
I think he has a huge experience. I mean, especially on the Honda bikes, and he's a great guy and a good rider. And honestly, since he came to the team, I think he had maybe more confidence now, and the team is around him and gave him everything that he needs. So I think he could do something good during this season, because it's a long time that he's in Moto3, so it's time also for him to show that he's capable, and he can maybe move next year in Moto2. So I really like him as a person and also as a rider. So there is still some work to do with him, but because we need still to know each other, him and the team and the mechanics. But for the moment, it's going well. I mean, and he showed it also in Jerez and in Portimao that he's there, and that everybody has to count on him.
Miodrag, thank you very much for your time, and best of luck.
Thank you very much to you.
Yeah, thanks to Simon. Thanks to Miodrag from Leopard Racing. Here is then your class of 2022 in Moto3. 9 Grand Prix winners on the grid for 2022. We welcome 10 rookies as well, including the FIM Moto3 Junior World Champion, Dani Holgado, who comes into the season still recovering from quite a nasty leg fracture he suffered in pre-season testing. A bit of housekeeping as well. Sadly, no Tayu Furusato, who dominated last year's Idemitsu Asia Talent Cup. He's missing from this weekend's action, not replaced by Honda Team Asia after he suffered a broken ankle in pre-season testing as well. Who are we going for, Lewis? What's your pick, mate? Hard one to call. Everybody seems to be looking at Dennis Foggia. No great surprise after his stunning performances last year and his awesome ride in that Portimao test. Jaume Masia seems to be a name that keeps cropping up as well. I think Ethan Guevara might be your personal pick, though?
Possibly, yeah. Just quickly, one last piece of housekeeping to complete that. The other rider who perhaps would normally be here that isn't is David Munoz. He's a rookie who will be competing on a regular basis this season as Ana Carrasco's teammate for the BOE SKX squad. He's not here because he's too young, essentially. He's only 15 years old. He turns 16 on the race day at Le Mans, so we'll see him in the spring. But yeah, as far as the champion's concerned, I'm a big fan of Ethan Guevara. I've got to say, from the moment that I saw him whilst commentating on the Moto3 Junior World Championship, winning 3 races in a weekend in Aragon from the 7th row of the grid on each occasion, was quite exceptional. There's clearly an incredible talent there if he can find that consistency, and I think in his second season he can do it. It's easy to forget that this time last year he was perhaps the rookie that most was being spoken of, and in the end he was outshone quite comprehensively by Pedro Acosta. But Guevara on his own had a rookie season that I think any young rider would have been proud of, finishing very high up in the championship, and of course taking that maiden win, albeit in slightly unusual circumstances, at the Circuit of the Americas. So yeah, Ethan Guevara I think is my title tip. If I had to go out on a limb at the moment, I would say that the champion's likely to come from either Leopard or Aspar, but then again there are many riders up and down this grid, the likes of Jaume Masia with his experience, who'll be looking to argue against that. But yeah, for me, Guevara just. How about you?
Well, this is hardly a startling pick, but I'm going to go with most people's pre-season favourite. That is the man that we've talked already so much about, Dennis Foggia. Miodrag Secure, though, made a really good point, didn't he, about the sluggish start that Foggia made to the World Championship campaign last year. He scored just 20 points in those opening 5 Grand Prix. It put him right on the back foot straight away. He found it hard to recover that deficit throughout. There is Carlos Tatai. hoping to see him fully fit this year. Of course, he was caught up in that nasty first lap incident in Mugello, wasn't it, with Andre Migno and Max Koffler, and he was left with a foot injury which kind of dogged him pretty much for the remainder of the season, so kind of hard to really judge Tatai's potential last season. Let's pop back down to Simon Crafar down in pit lane then. As we've mentioned before, John McPhee now the most experienced and oldest rider on the Moto3 grid this year. Let's hear John's pre-season thoughts down with Simon.
Yeah, I'm going to pitch that at John so he heard it. John, the most experienced and oldest rider you're tagged as now, also on a new machine. I always love catching up with you. I'd love to hear how the winter testing went and what's it like changing machine yet again.
Yeah, it's been an interesting start to the season for us, jumping on the Husqvarna bike. Those guys know how to put a bike together. It's been really interesting. Obviously, being Honda the last 3 years and switching across, it's been quite strange actually. Trying to make that adaptation was you need to ride it in quite a different way, but you need to ride it kind of more in the way you would ride a big bike, where you square the corner off, get the bike stopped in the middle, and punch out on the exits. So it's been good. I've been riding quite a lot of big bikes as well, so that's made it the change a little bit easier, and yeah, getting on really well with the guys there in the team, so just looking forward to kicking the season off.
About the team, really curious behind the scenes what you think they do well. Can you let us know? Or not well? I doubt you're going to tell us.
Well, so far I've only seen the positive things, which I hope it continues that way, of course. They're just really passionate. There's a good mix in there. Peter Otto put such a great squad together. He's honestly one of the here he comes now, one of the best guys in the paddock in my opinion, because he's so honest, and he just makes the best come out in everyone. So he's put some really good guys together technically, and some young guys there that are really driven and motivated. So there's a good balance, and I think that shows in the team. And when there's a happy team, there's a happy rider, and so on.
Peter, being an good level rider himself, any things you feel he brings because of that, or is it more what he knows about running a team?
A lot of understanding, I think. Being an ex-rider, he knows what the riders are looking for, but he also knows what the crew need to do to make it all run smoothly. So it's been absolutely great, honestly. It's a different kind of insight to what I've had in the past. The way he does things, German efficiency with the time and so on. But it's been really good, yeah. I've got a lot of respect for Peter and enjoying working alongside him.
Last question for you, John. To put you on the spot, how do you feel about this season? You know, time in Moto3 running out. How do you see it, to tell the fans?
Yeah, of course. It's no lie that my ambitions to be Moto2 the last few years now, but one reason or another it's just not happened. But every year we have a new challenge ahead of us, and we're still racing against the best in the world. So my target is to be there fighting for race wins, fighting for podiums from the word go. So we'll be looking to finish this year off as strong as possible before hopefully making that step to Moto2.
John, best of luck, and thank you for talking to us.
Thank you, Simon. Cheers.
Yeah, thanks to Simon Crafar. Always great to hear the thoughts of John McPhee. If he can be more consistent, if he can stay out of trouble, of course. He was so often caught up in some pretty controversial tangles last year, not least here, of course, with Jeremy Alcoba. You might remember that one, folks, after that fairly controversial tangle at the first corner. But John McPhee, if he gets his head around that Husqvarna, he has the potential to be a regular race winner in this World Championship. We just saw there that lovely shot, the 4 Japanese riders here, including Yuma Sasaki, who of course will be John McPhee's teammate this year, Ryusai Yamanaka. They're just paying tribute there to the late great Shoya Tomozawa. I can't believe it now, 12 long years ago since Tomozawa-san won that inaugural Moto2 Grand Prix right here under the lights at the Losail International Circuit. John McPhee there, just talking to some of the British press pack ahead of what's going to be, well, his 170th Grand Prix start here this weekend. Certainly not lacking experience, is he, Lewis? If things do fall into place for John, though, he has the potential to be a title contender.
Absolutely. We've seen his quality over many years in this Moto3 class with the Grand Prix victories that he's taken. 3 Grand Prix wins, but he's been in the running for so many of them. It's in many ways a lottery in Moto3. You can put yourself in the best position, you can get it tactically spot on and stay out of trouble, and then trouble can come and find you, as you alluded to last year. Trouble certainly found John McPhee down at turn 1 on the start of the final lap. Interesting to see how he makes the adjustment this season, of course, to the Husqvarna, having been on a Honda for the last last few years with the Petronas Sprinter Racing team, a team, of course, that are no longer in this class. So yeah, if McPhee can make that adaptation, we've already seen that the Sterile Garda Max Racing team can carry a rider to a title challenge. They did it with Aaron Canet a couple of years ago. And Romano Fenati, of course, looked at one stage as if he was perhaps going to make a late dash for the World Championship last season with those victories he took in the middle of the season, particularly at Silverstone, where he was absolutely phenomenal. So John McPhee's got a good environment around him. We heard him speaking there just how keen he is to be working with Peter Oertzl and the impact that he's already making on his riding going forward, as Maverick Vinales looks to impart some wisdom on the Spanish contingent.
A former Moto3 world champion himself, of course, Maverick Vinales. He knows what it takes to win this ultra-competitive class. The racing will be fast and fierce, as always, in this entry-level World Championship category. And come November the 6th in Valencia, this man came so close to clinching the 2021 world title. Will his name be on that famous trophy in, 8 months' time? He looks relaxed, he looks calm, he looks confident, you have to say. And why wouldn't he be after a illness-disrupted official test in Portimao, which didn't really knock him out of his rhythm too much. He was the only man at that test at the Algarve International Circuit that found a sub 147 lap, Dennis Foggia. And he just looks like Lewis, a man who's supremely confident, like he thinks that this is my year, it's now my time to grasp this golden opportunity and win this Moto3 title.
He does. He seems very relaxed, doesn't he? And it has to be said, last season, as great as Dennis Foggia was on track, there were one or two issues, of course, off the track with his father down at Leopard. The atmosphere perhaps wasn't always how they would like it in that box. So Dennis Foggia, with all those distractions away from him this year, and a quality teammate, as we're looking at on screen, Tatsuki Suzuki alongside him at Leopard, the hopes will be very, very high to challenge for the World Championship.
Well, we mentioned how we were delighted to welcome back Ana Carrasco, of course, the history-making rider, the 2018 Supersport 300 World Champion, the first female to win a solo class title in history. I'm delighted to say she's back in Moto3, and she's with Simon now down in pit lane.
She is. Ana, Matt has just been talking through your achievements in the past, and I have to say, obviously super impressive, but I really admire the bravery, you know, to come into this class that is so brutally tough. You know, the young guys so hungry, and the best riders in the world, but also the teams behind them, you know, what they give to their riders, bringing them through, and you're taking that on. I would love to hear your first impressions after testing and what you're hoping to achieve.
Yeah, honestly, in that moment I feel happy but not ready to start the championship. Obviously, I come from World Superbike, from a different bike during many years, so I'm still needing some more kilometers. But I think it will be a good season. For sure, I can work good. I'm still angry also like the young riders, so I think during the season I will improve a lot and I can be ready to fight for the top positions.
Just a bit of noise. Can we move over here a little bit? Can you tell us the first impressions, what is the big difference between the 300 Supersport and these Moto3 machines to ride?
The biggest difference for sure are the chassis is quite different, because the street bike is like more soft, more easy to ride. The Moto3 is like, the movements are like more aggressive all the time. Also the feelings with the front and the back is quite different because of everything is like more hard. But yeah, the kind of ride, the class is almost very close to the 300. The kind of races with the group, the slipstream always. So I think the class is not a big difference, but for sure the bike is quite different to ride.
And I'd like to say on behalf of everyone, we're very happy to have you here and want to wish you the very best of luck.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks to Simon Crafar, thanks to Ana Carrasco. Looking for a bit of a pre-birthday boost here this weekend in our much-anticipated season opener. Ana turns 25 next week as we look at the 8-times world champion. MotoGP, folks, is back this weekend, and he is back in action. Marc Marquez, of course, the Repsol Honda rider, missed the first 2 Grand Prix of last season, missed the last 2 Grand Prix of last season. In between, there was some big highs and lows. A race winner. Just just before we say goodbye after this Moto3 photo shoot, I'm delighted to say what a character, what a talent, a great prospect in the Moto3 World Championship this year ahead of his first full season. We saw what he was capable of doing last year when he had a couple of replacement rides in the CIP Green Power team. Well, I'm delighted to say he's a full-time addition to the grid this year. I know Simon loves him, and he's down on the grid with Joel Kelso.
Yeah, I do because I love catching up with you, Joel. You're always a character, and say how it is entertainingly. We saw, as Matt said, what you were capable of last year, even only in a couple of like wildcard rides or replacement rides, and now with a full-time ride, what are you hoping to do, and how did winter testing go so far?
Yeah, first of all, it's great to catch up with you again, mate, and be here chatting with you. Last year go well to the end of the year, you know, from the mid-season, and I think we made great progress and learnt a lot, you know, and now stepping into World Championship full-time will be interesting, you know, and I think we can make good steps throughout the year, and here at Qatar, you know, the goal is just to work on the progress, you know, throughout the season. And let's see where we get. At the moment, I'm really happy with how everything's going. Winter testing went great. I think we found a good enough setting with the bike that it's going to be okay for base setting at all the tracks. And then it's just from working from there, isn't it? So, super happy with how everything went. Learned a few new things with the new tyres that we have in Moto3. Everything's going to plan so far, and let's just see if we can keep following that out throughout this weekend.
Joel, how many of the circuits do you know that are on the calendar this year?
Well, pretty much just the European races, and then, Phillip Island, obviously, ridden there a couple of times, and that's about it, really. But, so it'll be a good experience this year, and learning all the new tracks will be great. But, obviously we want to try to do as best as possible, but first of all, it's about, you know, pushing and keep improving throughout the season, and then see where it takes me when we get back to Europe.
I saw that your level got pushed up here when you came here, you know, like always happens, World Championship. Well, not always happens, but you get pushed into at least trying to get to another level. You managed it, and you moved, you could see your riding progress, but I'm curious for the listeners, where do you think you did improve in those runs that you had out in Moto3 last year, and also where are you think you need to improve over the season?
Yeah, I mean, I took a heap of confidence away from the wildcard, you know. First of all, just getting the opportunity was one eye-opener for me. And then after going back to FIMSEV was a lot easier, let's say, as in riding with...
We noticed that because you went back and you straight away up the front, where it seemed like you were riding on another level. Where do you think it was that you improved?
I think I improved in just having confidence, and then learning the new style of working with the World Championship team, which is focusing more on yourself instead of always thinking of the bike, the track, thinking just on yourself and on the riding of you know. So definitely in that aspect, and I think I'll continue learning that throughout this year.
Joel, thank you for your time, and like I said, all the riders, best of luck.
Thanks so much, mate.
Yeah, thanks to Simon, and thanks to one of the new great characters in this MotoGP World Championship, Paddock, the 18-year-old from Darwin, Joel Kelso. Looking forward to a bit of a Southern Hemisphere flavour in pit lane this year, with Simon and Joel having a few chats. Finished last season in the Junior World Championship incredibly strongly. 4th overall. He won 3 races, including an absolute stunner from the back of the grid at the last round in Valencia. So we'll take a short break, myself, Lewis, and Simon will grab an espresso, and we'll be back very, very shortly to bring you live coverage from Qatar of the new Moto2 lineup in 2022. Join us in a few moments.
Claudi, 190 o 198, ¿vale?
Hello again, welcome back to the Losail International Circuit in Qatar. We turn our attention now to a much-changed Moto2 grid for 2022. Matt Burt, Lewis Sotheby and Simon Crafar to run you down the runners and riders for a Moto2 World Championship that last year was completely and utterly dominated by one team and two riders. Of course, we've said farewell to both the reigning world champion Remy Gardner and the rookie sensation Raul Fernandez. They're both in the new 2022 MotoGP lineup, but they've been replaced in that very same team, Aki Ayo's incredible KTM project, by two big rising stars. Pedro Acosta, the reigning Moto3 world champion, a rookie sensation already in Moto2. So much for him, or so much to be talked about for him ahead of his debut season in the Moto2 World Championship. And let's kick off talking about some of our title protagonists, men who we think will be big contenders, with number 22 in 2022, Sam Lowes. We just saw that briefly. Here he is, though, the man of the moment. In Moto3 last year, as you mentioned, if you joined us a few months ago for the Moto3 grid lineup photo, this man ripped up the record books. He tore the history books to smithereens, to records, winning that championship in dramatic fashion in Portimao last November, and he is already making big waves in the Moto2 World Championship. One official test session took place pre-season at the Algarve International Circuit in Portimao, and with a brilliant lap of 1:41.552, Pedro Acosta topped the pile from his teammate Augusto Fernandez. We were wondering, Lewis, having dominated or having been so impressive last year in Moto3, could he carry it on in Moto2? And before we've had a wheel turned in anger, we've had our emphatic answer already.
Absolutely. Well, it seemed very clear from last season, didn't it, that being a rookie and the idea of challenging for a championship in his rookie season didn't really faze Pedro Acosta. He was absolutely extraordinary. Few who witnessed it will forget what he achieved here last year. He started the second of our two Moto3 races here last year, the Doha Grand Prix, not too far away from where these riders are currently standing at the end of pit lane, and went on to win the Grand Prix on the final lap. And I think that was the moment where we realised we had a real Grand Prix superstar of the future in our hands. And he went on to dominate that year's championship. Even when his championship lead started to be whittled away in the second half of the season, he acted like a champion, like a veteran. He managed that championship lead as well as he possibly could, and then when it was time to really deliver in the Algarve Grand Prix with everything on the line, he pulled it out of the bag and won it on the final lap. As you say, his start to Moto2 has looked very, very impressive indeed, and there's every chance that he's going to be competing right at the front again this season. A spectacular pre-season test at Portimao, and so far it seems as if he's going to be in the mix for another rookie champion. Well, one of the impressive rookies from last season came from the American racing squad, Cameron Beaubier, who's now heading into his second Moto2 season, and he's talking to Simon.
He is, and that's why I wanted to come and see him, Lewis, is heading into your second year. We got a taste of how good you are, you know, what people have seen in the US for years. But last year must have been really hard, learning not only the bikes, but also the circuits. And towards the end of the year, you really started to shine, you know, extra. And I'm genuinely a bit excited about what you could do this year. I'm wondering how you feel about it.
No, I appreciate it. Honestly, coming over here as for the second year, it's just nice and mentally knowing knowing what I'm getting myself into, you know, the tracks, even just coming back here, you know, we had the preseason test here last year. We had 2 races here, decent amount of track time, and also being able to test at, you know, Jerez and Portimao before we came here was good. Yeah, I mean, like I said, just knowing what I'm getting myself into, second year with the team and the crew, and yeah, I mean, it's easy to sit here and say it's going to be way better, but I'm really hoping it is. I feel like we really showed some stuff there at the end of the year, running in the top 5 on a couple occasions, and yeah, I'm pumped to be back here with the American Racing Team and see where I stack up with these boys.
I know riders hate looking backwards, you know, at what happens, and you just want to look forward. But I'm curious, for the listeners' sake, can you tell us what was the hard things to learn coming here from, you know, superbikes in the States to Moto2 in all these different circuits? What was the tricky thing to learn?
You know, at first I felt like I was picking it up pretty easily, or like decently, but then once you get into like the race weekend situation where everyone's finding that extra second, you know, 1.2 or something like that out of a brand new tire, and I think I was just lacking a little bit of experience with everything, and yeah, I mean, I've been riding a superbike for the past 8 years or something like that, or 7 years, so it's definitely a big change, but I really feel like I learned so much last year. I really am starting to understand the Dunlop tires, and honestly, the test, just like the first day of the test this winter, really helped me, just going out and riding and not worrying too much about time right away. You know, obviously you want to throw in a good time like towards the end of the day and stuff like that, but
you're riding on old tires for a lot of laps, you mean?
Yeah, just really kind of understanding the bike, because I feel like every time I've jumped on this thing at all these new tracks we're going to, you're just going, I mean, you're going balls out, right? You're going as fast as you can because you see yourself down the timesheet, and yeah, you don't want to have that. So yeah.
Cameron, I feel real bad because I could listen to you all day, but they're calling for you on the grid for the photos. So thank you for talking to us.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, thanks very much, Simon. Always great to hear the thoughts of the Californian 29-year-old Cam Beaubier, who took that brave and bold step last year. He could have easily stayed and dominated the Moto America Superbike Championship, but he wanted to test himself against the very best. And on occasion, as Simon mentioned last year, he excelled. There was a couple of real strong rides towards the back end of the year. Started and finished inside the top 6 in 2 of the last 4 races. So with that little bit more experience, Cameron Beaubier, one to watch potentially an all-American lineup in American racing as well. Beaubier joined by this young man, the 19-year-old from Hollywood, not California, but Hollywood in Florida, Sean Dylan Kelly. 1 Grand Prix appearance back in Valencia in 2019 when he replaced Iker Lecuona, called up for the Tech 3 team back then. But 12 races he won last year to dominate the Moto America Supersport title. It's going to be a big learning curve, but if you want to be the best, you've got to test yourself against the best, Lewis.
Absolutely, and he wants to test himself against the best. There are 10 rookies, as you mentioned, who are moving on to the Moto2 grid this season. We've already touched on Pedro Acosta. They've not all come the traditional route. Many of the rookies in this grid have come from Moto3, but as we've mentioned, Sean Dylan Kelly has moved across from America, and we have young Zonta van den Gorberg, the 16-year-old, who we'll see no doubt very, very shortly, the RW Racing team. He stepped in there alongside Barry Baltus, just 16 years of age. He's moved across from the Moto3 Junior World Championship, which might seem as a very strange move to many when you think that's not where you'd expect a rider from Moto3 Junior World Championship to move. You'd expect him to go to the Moto3 Grand Prix class, but walking past him in the paddock this morning, for a 16-year-old, he is very, very tall indeed. I think you might be able to see him just on the back row. Very, very tall young rider, so perhaps his family and his team who support him have thought that Premier is the best option for him to move straight into the Moto2 class, as Barry Baltus, his teammate, did last year, and ply his trade there rather than moving into Moto3 perhaps and getting swallowed up in the chaos that is that class. Move into Moto2 and prove yourself there, and it certainly appeared through the Portimao test that he was making very, very solid progress indeed.
A new team on the grid as well this year, the Yamaha VR46 Master Camp team there. We just saw their a very quick glimpse of their new team boss. Welcome back to a very famous name, Helete Nieto, the oldest son of late legend Angel Nieto. He's been charged with guiding that new team, the very exciting prospect of Manuel Gonzalez. A lot of people think he will have some top results in his rookie season in Moto2 this year. And of course, we welcome full-time in the Moto2 World Championship as well, his Thai teammate Keminth Kubo, one of 12 arrivals in this Moto2 line. There's one of them, Pedro Acosta. We also welcome Gabriel Rodrigo from Moto3, Sean Dillon Kelly, we mentioned Romano Fenati, back for another crack at Moto2, Salac up from Moto3, Gonzalez, Antonelli, Acosta, Alcoba, Fermin Aldeguer there, who we're looking at next to Romano Fenati. Those pair go on the Boscoscura chassis, and Aldeguer, he's a hot prospect as well, isn't he? The Spanish teenager looked really, really good in that Portimao test. He was 5th quickest behind a whole bunch of Kalex riders. We also welcome Zacconi, Kubo and Zonta van der Gorberg, as Lewis mentioned. If you think the name's familiar, well, it is. His father, of course, is ex-250cc Grand Prix rider and 500cc Grand Prix rider Jurgen van der Gorberg. So good for the Dutch fans to welcome him in. Remy Gardner, Raul Fernandez, Marco Bezzecchi and Fabio De Gianantonio, of course, have left us and gone up to MotoGP. We say farewell to Vierge, Manzi, Luti, Gartho, Buliga, Cyrene and Baldassari. As we look at the class of 2022, there's the new Elfmark VDS Racing lineup. Sam Lowes in his 3rd year with the high-profile Belgian team. Not an ideal pre-season prep, though, was it, for the British rider? A tendinitis issue in his left wrist, and he missed the last day in Portimao. Not the ideal prep, really, is it, Lewis? Coming into a big season, many think Sam Lowes has a great chance of winning this championship.
Absolutely, he's the most successful rider currently in this class, in Moto2, of course. He's a very successful rider in this class at 9 Grand Prix victories, 17 pole positions, and he's going for something that's never been achieved in the Moto2 class. And incidentally, no rider has ever won 3 consecutive Moto2 Grand Prix at the same circuit. Sam Lowes, of course, did the double here last year, those 2 brilliant nail-biting battles with eventual champion Remy Gardner, which Sam Lowes was on the right side of on both occasions. He could make it a hat-trick of wins here at Losail if he can triumph on Sunday night, but as we've already touched upon, there is plenty of competition for him sat to his left, his right and just behind him, including his new teammate Tony Arbolino, who moves across from the Liquimoli Intact GP team. We got glimpses last year of what he's capable of, and of course we know from his Moto3 days that he can win Grand Prix. The Rebel KTM boys there on the front row as well, we're expecting to see them well and truly in the mix. It was a big question mark going into this season, having lost the 2 riders who did raise the bar last year in terms of what we can expect from Moto2 riders at the front, with Remy Gardner and Raul Fernandez dominating the championship. They've been replaced, as you can see, by Acosta and Augusto Fernandez, and they look as if they're going to be every bit as competitive this year.
So here you go, then there is your Moto2 group photo for 2022. 13 Grand Prix winners involved, 3 Grand Prix world champions. Nobody, though, has lifted the intermediate world prize. Lorenzo Dalla Porta, Alberto Arenas and, of course, Pedro Acosta, former world champions in Moto3, now plying their trade in what looks like being another really competitive Moto2 World Championship campaign. We expect it to be dominated by Kalex yet again. Of course, there are Aldeguer and Marcos Ramirez on Boscoscura and MV Agusta chassis respectively. Simone Corsi back for another year as well. Simone Corsi, by far, of course, the oldest rider on the grid in this championship this year. Then, so these are the men who will be doing battle over 21 races, the longest campaign in intermediate world championship history. Right on cue, Simon Crafar is just off camera here, listening to this conversation with American racing team rider coach John Hopkins, who used to race around here, of course, in MotoGP back in the day. Let's get the pre-season thoughts of John about his men Cameron Beaubier and Sean Dillon Kelly. Down to you, Si.
Yeah, same thinking. I'm going to poke my mic in your conversation here, guys. And I've just caught up with Cameron Beaubier just before the photos here, and I've got a feeling he's going to hit the ground running this year after basically gathering experience last year and coming on strong towards the end. I'd like to hear your thoughts on him, John, but also Sean Dillon Kelly. I saw him in the paddock a few years ago. I didn't even recognize him here. He's gone from like a little baby-faced fella to a young man. I would really like to hear your thoughts on both your riders.
Well, I'm expecting a really strong year this year from American racing. You know, we got a really good lineup between two American racers for the first time on an American racing team. So Cameron's got the experience, he's got the speed. Most importantly, he's got the consistency to be a championship contender this year. I think Cameron's going to be really, really strong this year. Like I said, he still need to work on his qualifying and getting that bike to the absolute limit to put him in a position right at the beginning of the race so that he's right there to compete right at the front. So I think that's going to be our biggest obstacle this year with Cameron, is just getting that qualifying speed to the very, very top, getting him to the front of the field in the beginning. But as far as race pace, consistency, I think he'll be one of the strongest out of the field all year long, because even tracks he was learning last year, by when it came to Sunday, he was running the race pace as the leaders most every weekend. So I think he's going to be really consistent. And this championship takes consistency. All it takes is being in the top 5, race in and race out, and you're going to be in it with the chance. As for Sean impressed me so far. You know,
he's really in the deep end, isn't he?
Yeah, exactly. He's come from American Supersport racing, which we know the level isn't the highest there, but it is gaining traction. This year, I think, is going to be a huge learning year for him, but like I said, he over-exceeded my expectations massively right from the get-go in Jerez. First Jerez test at the end of last year, he was top rookie. At Jerez this year, at the beginning of the year, he was doing quite strong. He was consistent all week, all tests.
Did he know that track before those tests?
He knew Jerez, but not a huge amount of experience. Portimao is a lot more of a technical style track, so obviously, you know, it was more of a realistic expectation out of him. But this track, he's got to learn here, but I expect him to be really strong. He's got the right mentality. Everything about him is he's willing to do whatever it takes to get to the top, and that's the biggest thing about him. His motivation is higher than ever, and we just got to keep it that way and just meet small expectations. We can't set his expectations too high. We've just got to do it like we have with Joe and Cameron, set it little by little and see where we're at the end of the year.
Hey, thank you for your time. I'm going to go catch some riders. Best of luck this weekend.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, thanks, Simon. Thanks, as always, to John Hopkins. Always a great listen. Exciting times for American MotoGP fans, of course, with the American racing team fielding an all-American lineup. And, of course, we're looking forward to heading back to the United States, the Circuit of the Americas in Austin, coming up in just a few weeks' time in April, round 4 of the World Championship. We didn't touch upon a couple of guys on that grid shot who are certainly worthy of mention. Aaron Canet on the Kalex, riding for the Cito Pons squad now, was looking really strong in Portimao. Third, it'll be interesting to see what Canet can do now he's equipped with that Kalex chassis. Jake Dixon as well, the British rider, looked really good in Portimao. He was 4th quickest, but this is the man who everybody is talking about. No great surprise, Pedro Acosta. Can he win the Moto2 World Championship this year? It would be an astonishing feat. Meanwhile, let's talk about another rookie. There's so many of them to get through, but I'm delighted to say Simon has grabbed one of them ahead of his first Moto2 start here on Sunday night. It's Jeremy Alcoba. Simon, down to you.
Yeah, and I've just said to Jeremy, he looks even bigger than last year. I mean, we saw that you were tall on the Moto3 bike, but yeah, it looked like you filled out a little bit. Maybe it's just leather suit padding, but Jeremy, I would love to hear your first impression of the Moto2 machine.
Yeah, now because looks like this, because now I can go to the gym much better. So now I can...
And not restrict the food so much.
Also. So more happy because now I feel more free with the gym, with it, so with the food. Yeah, my first impression with the bike is also the weight and the acceleration. Changed a lot about Moto3. I think I need to take more calm and more time and more kilometers for understand more the bike, but the first feels was really nice.
So you're saying you can't ride the Moto2 bike with the aggression that you're so famous for in Moto3? You have to be more calm or smooth?
Yeah. Sometimes I need to be more calm because sometimes I try to take the time on the brakes, but this bike don't ride with this. You need to turn the bike more with the gas, and it's that point that I need to understand more because sometimes I ride the Moto2 with like Moto3 style, and it's not like Moto3. So more kilometers, understand the bike, work a lot with the team, and we will see what happens.
Last question. You mentioned team there. What are your first impressions of your new team?
Yeah, really good. The first thing was like German guys, more strict, more German. But no, they are so Mediterranean guys, like Spanish, because it's a mix with German, Italian, Spanish. So, but finally we all talk with English or Italian. So really nice with the team, really happy, and I think we can make a good job.
Jeremy, thank you and good luck.
Really, thanks.
Yeah, thanks, Simon. Thanks to Jeremy Alcoba, the 20-year-old Spaniard, of course, ahead of his fourth season in the World Championship. The Liqui Moly Intact GP team, one of the top teams in this Moto2 World Championship. So can they get the best out of Jeremy Alcoba? They struggled somewhat to extract the best out of Tony Arbolino last year, as Lewis touched upon, as now the teams and photographers get set for their final pre-season pictures. They'll be flooding social media a little bit later on before the action all kicks off, of course, in just under 24 hours time here in Doha. Now then, let's pop back down to Simon again in pit lane, a man who had an excellent test session in Portimao just a couple of weeks ago. Jake Dixon was fourth fastest, quietly confident that he can challenge for the top 5 here on Sunday night. Well, let's hear Jake's thoughts pre-weekend with Simon down in pit lane.
He is. Jake, we saw you did really well on the test. Love to hear how that feels for you, like through winter testing, but also you look fast in the new kit.
Well, half the battle's looking fast, and I've got great levers, great helmet, great boots. So yeah, team's good. Honestly, really enjoying it. Rough year last year, but the past is in the past and the future's ready to come to me. So I'm really looking forward to it. Good testing, and yeah, I feel good. I feel in the groove. I feel I've got my mojo and ready to attack the weekend.
You're looking lean, like you've been training hard and watching the diet or something.
Yeah, just been sat on the couch the whole winter, so no, I'm joking. Obviously training hard, had a good winter training, and honestly, I'm ready for it. Just want all the talking to stop because I'm ready to get going and show what I'm about.
Well, I'm going to leave it on that note. Thank you, Jake. Good luck.
Cheers, thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Simon. Well, we said Jake Dixon was quietly confident. That was probably not doing him justice. He sounds very confident, doesn't he? A great winter. Always good to have a positive winter testing campaign to bring in to a new season. He's looking like a lean, mean fighting machine, Jake Dixon. So let's hope he can be a consistent challenger for the top 5 this season. Pedro Acosta, there just doesn't seem like there's anything that phases this young man. He's loving life. There is no kind of pressure, any great expectation on him to deliver the Moto2 World title this year. He's in a fantastic team. He's going to have a strong teammate that will push him in Augusto Fernandez. That's always important, as well as we start to see some of the factory MotoGP bikes come down to scrutineering and come down as well for the Premier Class photo. Stay with us, that's coming all up in the next hour or so. This is an exciting lineup this year, Lewis. I'm intrigued to find out how these two guys go, because fair to say that the speed-up chassis, the Boscoscura chassis, it's good at some tracks. It's not the consistent package, clearly, the Kalex is. And Aaron Canet and Jorge Navarro, now both vastly experienced riders on a Kalex, they're going to pose a pretty big threat this year.
Absolutely. They're two riders who have done their best work so far in Moto2 on Boscoscura / speed-up chassis. So I think we're going to be fascinated to see how they get on Kalexes. Aaron Canet was fantastic last season with that frequent run of podium positions, not quite able to get quite over the line and take the victory, but no, he's going to be a real contender this season. Quick throughout pre-season testing, Aaron Canet, and he's got a good teammate there in Jorge Navarro, who's shown what he's capable of in Moto2, even if he perhaps has spent a little bit too much time on occasion in gravel traps. Well, let's head down back once again to pit lane and get some thoughts ahead of this new season. Let's hear from one of the rookies. Gresini Racing's Filip Salac is with Simon.
Yeah, I love hearing from the rookies because they change our sport. Great to see you've moved up, Filip. You're a very tall fella. Like we're looking at each other in the eye, and it must have been a squeeze on that Moto3 bike. You still did really well on it. What's it like to ride a Moto2 bike?
Well, it's incredible. It's a very fast bike and it's a race bike. It's a big bike already, and I'm so happy that I was able to move up, because how you said, on a Moto3 bike I was really small, really tall, and the bike was small and I was struggling a lot on the straights. So yeah, the level in Moto2 is very, very high. I didn't expect it will be that fast, but physically I feel better than on a Moto3 bike because I can move more, I can play more with the bike. So well, after first kilometers with the bike, I'm enjoying every lap and taking the experience. I had few crashes in the pre-season test, but well, I can't wait for the first race because the winter was long and I can't wait.
Hey, so I'm curious, were they front end ones or on the throttle? You know, without still without traction control and a lot more power. And what was the difference? You know, Moto3 to Moto2, the main differences.
I think the main difference is the power of the bike. The riding style is quite different, and to understand the tires, because I spoke with a lot of riders and they said the same, that it's quite difficult to know the limit of the bike because it doesn't give you the big feedback, so you think you're okay and then you just lose the front, you don't know what happened. So that's more...
This is what happened to you?
Yeah, this is what happened to me. I lost the front like 3 or 4 times, so yeah, it needs more laps because I did just a few days on that bike, but I feel already quite strong and comfortable, and well, let's start racing.
Filip, great to hear from you. Good luck.
Thank you very much. Thanks.
Yeah, always great to hear from the new guys looking to make big waves in Moto2 this year. There is Jorge Navarro. His early winter was compromised by a pretty nasty crash in a Jerez test in November. Navarro broke his left ankle and still working his way back to full fitness. The 26-year-old, of course, if he can find full fitness and he can find confidence on that Calyx, he's another name that you could throw into the mix as a potential dark horse for this World Championship. Delighted to see a couple of rides actually part of that Moto2 lineup photo, because there were some doubts about Bo Benschneider's attendance here this weekend in that Portimao test on the very last day. The Dutch rider, the very easy to spot tall Dutch rider, Bo Benschneider, broke his right collarbone on that last day of testing. He got patched up and is going to obviously give it a go here tomorrow. And Marcel Schrotter, the hugely experienced German rider, of course, remaining with the Liqui Moly Intact team for another season. The 29-year-old German, he broke his left hand crashing on the first lap of the last day of testing in Portimao. 2 screws inserted in that hand, as we see Simon Crafar just down there. Is he going to have a natter with another rookie? He's managed to grab Gabriel Rodrigo. Simon will waste no more time, and here are the thoughts of the Barcelona-based Argentinian. Down to you guys.
Yeah, Gabby, would love to hear what I've been catching up with quite a few of the rookies, what the difference is moving up. Would love to hear your thoughts, you know, from pre-season testing, moving from Moto3 to Moto2.
Yeah, for me the biggest difference is the stability on the exit of the corner, because this bike is very nervous. The front is trying to wheelie all the time, and I was riding with R6, R1, but the electronics and everything are helping you a lot. And here the electronic is you, so you have to put all the weight in the front, and short guys like me have to fight more. Like in Portimao was crazy because so many uphills, downhills that you... I was putting the weight sometimes standing up of the bike, so it's completely different to Moto3, that you always think to go in, to be more aerodynamic, things like that. Here you are like always exiting off the bike to try to put more weight on the front, and for me this is the biggest difference.
And you're enjoying it?
A lot, a lot.
Okay. So give us an idea, what about the new team?
Yeah, it's really nice. You know, it's a team super familiar. They worked with Remy super well. It's the same crew team than Remy before going Ayo. And they have a lot of experience, and they also appreciate all the hard work and all the little results, because they are not a team that is super used to win every race, things like that. So I think it's a perfect place to learn, to grow up and to achieve good results together.
Pertamina Mandalika SAG team. I had to throw that in there because it's a team name, but also, wow, you had to learn it. The other thing I wanted to ask about, you look bigger, stronger, you know, from Moto3 days. You've changed your training.
A lot. in Moto3 last year. I lost even more weight than other years, trying to compete with the little guys, because my genetic is, you know, a bit bigger. I gain muscle super fast, and I was not training with weight. I was just doing cardio, eating super less. Between races I was almost dead. But now I can be normal, you know, like eat healthy, like a sport person, but to eat what you need to eat, no? And I trained also a lot, because in November I did the first test, and it's true that I was coming also from the injury, but I saw that here it's more important to be fit than to be 2-3 kilos over, no? So my priority this winter was to train hard, to gain muscle, and not so much like in Moto3 that the main goal was to be light, you know? And now I'm also more happy about that, because you struggle when you are hungry. So trying to enjoy and trying to learn a lot, and let's see where we are.
Gabriel Rodrigo, thank you for your time. Good luck.
Thank you so much. See you soon.
Yeah, thanks, Simon. Great to hear from the Argentinian there, Gabi Rodrigo. Of course, there's no question he's got the speed, he's got the talent, but staying fit is going to be key to Rodrigo's debut season in this Moto2 World Championship. Missed the last 5 races, injured of 2021. There is Jeremy Alcoba. We've heard, haven't we, about some of these Moto3 rookies. They've been able to run a more normal training regime. They're not trying to keep the weight down to be competitive on those pocket rocket 250cc single cylinder 4-strokes in Moto3. So a bit more of a normal diet for some of those boys. So Lewis, we did it in Moto3, let's go for it in Moto2 before the big boys come to the grid. MotoGP photo shoot coming your way. Who's your pick, mate, for Moto2 this year?
Well, I've been on the fence with this one as we've gone through pre-season testing between the two Red Bull KTM IR riders. I'd made a call prior to the Portimao test, and then the performances of Pedro Acosta tempted me to switch allegiances, if you like, within that team. But I'm going to stick with Augusto Fernandez to take the title this season. He's got the experience in this class. He's proven that he can win the championship. He's proven that he can compete for a championship, even if his 2019 challenge of Alex Marquez and Brad Binder faded in the back end of the season. But if I look at the way he particularly performed last season with Marc Marquez, he was a very frequent podium visitor last season. Couldn't quite match the level of Remy Gardner and Raul Fernandez, but with those two no longer in the class and him stepping into their place, I think Augusto Fernandez starts as a very slight favourite, but Pedro Acosta is already exceeding the expectations I had with him, and we've already learned with the Pedro Acosta never to set your expectations too high. But as far as the champion's concerned this season, where's your fiver going?
Well, I was going to be a bit boring and go for Pedro Acosta based on his brilliance in that Portimao test, but I'm going to go a little bit left field. I'm going to go for Celestino Vietti. I think he showed glimpses of real class last year, like he did in Moto3. I think with that extra year under his experience, I think he's going to be a big pick as well. I'm delighted to say Simon Crowfire, busy as always down in pit lane, getting the men of the moment, and one of them in Moto2 this year potentially could be the rookie Sean Dillon Kelly. Simon is down in pit lane with the American right now.
I am, and Sean, I barely recognise you. We met a few years ago when you came over having a go on a Moto3 bike, now back on a Moto2 bike, but you've changed a lot.
I hope for the good. I hope you're telling me I look better. No, honestly, it's one, it's good to be back, because for sure I did spend 3 seasons here with the Red Bull Rookies Cup, but now it's a little bit more official. You know, I'm here in with the Moto2 class, and honestly, it's a dream to be here and enjoying every step of the way so far.
What's the Moto2 bike been like, you know, through Jerez, and I imagine you went to Portimao. What's it like to ride?
Yeah, it's definitely another story. You know, this bike is built to race, and there's a clear difference coming from a super sport bike to this Moto2 bike. But honestly, it's been a lot of fun, really understanding like how much you can push this chassis, how much you can just push the, you know, everything in general. The thing is built for the racetrack, so it's definitely you know, a learning curve, but enjoying every bit of it and just putting it out on track.
Can you tell me and the listeners what the big difference is that you feel from the super sport bike to Moto2 bike?
Yeah, the number one really is the chassis, right? Because a super sport bike, it's a street bike, so it flexes, it lets you know it's moving around, you understand it. This thing it's a stiff chassis because it's meant to go fast, right? So that means that the information that you get from the bike is definitely just a little bit harder to understand than
so harder to feel the limit.
Exactly, absolutely. And because of that, the limit's just also way further, much higher. So that just means that's why you can go so fast on these machines, and it just means that you need to understand things a little bit better. The suspension is definitely a level up, and the tires are slightly different as well. So yeah, just things to learn. The bike is also a lot lighter than the Supersport bike, which makes a big difference on how the bike reacts, how to move it, how you can just play with it, and yeah, it's just at the end of the day, it's just a motorcycle. It's still two wheels and an engine, so just need to understand the characteristics a little bit better, and just keep on having fun with the thing.
One last thing I'd like to know is what circuits do you know coming into this championship, because that's going to be another big learning curve for you.
Yeah, for sure, it's part of this learning curve. What's good for me is because of the Rookies Cup, I do know a good handful of the European tracks. Le Mans is one I still don't know. Obviously, Finland will be new for most people. Silverstone I haven't ridden too much, even though I did go in 2015 just with another street bike back in the day when I was a little younger. But for sure, the flyaways are all going to be new. I've just done them virtually as much as I could. And here we're at Doha, and I'll be on track tomorrow for the first time. So for sure there's going to be a lot to learn, but again, this is part of the deal and part of why I'm here.
Sean, thank you for your time. Best of luck, especially this weekend, your first race in Moto2.
Extremely excited, and I just want to thank all of MotoGP for making this happen. Thank you to the American racing team, and thank you to everyone that's behind me, my sponsors, my family who's done all this to be here, and also myself who's pushed hard to make this happen. So here we are, going to enjoy it and start getting to work.
Thank you, Sean.
Thank you.
Yeah, great character indeed. We wish Sean, Dylan Kelly and the American racing team all the very best in 2022. Big season for them, but the big boys are back in town. Coming up very, very shortly, we'll have our first look at the class of 2022 in MotoGP. Marc Marquez back in action, his first race appearance at the Losail International Circuit in Qatar, believe it or not, since 2019. We'll just quickly, as the MotoGP bikes get set for their lineup photo ahead of 2022, pop back down to another exciting rookie. He's got a famous father. It's all about making a name for himself. Zonta van der Gorberg with Simon.
He is. Zonta, I haven't actually met you properly before, but absolute pleasure. You're pretty tall. I suppose you're from Holland. You look very light. There's been a few doubters, you moving from nowhere in the World Championship straight into Moto2. I was surprised to see how well you were going, especially at Portimao. I don't know if you know that track, but there was a good 8 guys behind you, which I didn't expect. How's it going so far on Moto2 bike?
Well, yeah, as you say, it's going much better than we expected, for sure. As you say, in Portimao, I managed to keep like 8 guys behind me, and this was by far not really the idea that it would happen, because we thought maybe I'm last by 2 seconds, like 2 seconds behind the second last,
which wouldn't be unreasonable because coming in from no experience.
Yeah, exactly. This is what I say. That could have been what happened, and it wouldn't have been so bad. But then in the end, we managed to keep quite a lot of guys behind us, and that was quite a surprise. I know Portimao a bit from the junior classes, but it's not like I've ridden there so much. So yeah, in the end, the testing so far is going really well. And of course, as you said, there were some doubters, because I go from Junior World Championship to Moto2. But now you can see the Junior World Championship is not such low level. Pedro Costa comes from there. He was 4th or 3rd in the championship there. He wins Moto3. I come here now, and it's not like I'm dead last. So in the end, everything is going really well now, and yeah, let's see how Qatar is now. New track, everything. So it will be difficult but enjoyable.
I've been asking all the rookies what it's like to ride a Moto2 bike. What are your first impressions?
For sure, because I rode a Moto3 before, but I never rode a 600 before I went to Moto2. Many guys rode either a 600 or like a 1000 R1, whatever, but I never rode a 600. So I went straight from Moto3 to Moto2. So the speed was incredible. Like you go from 240 km an hour maximum to like 290, and that was a big step for sure. But then of course also the weight is like double. The tires are double the size. Especially the tires was something I didn't really think about before I moved over. I thought, its tires is black and round, it's the same. But then I moved over, and it had such a different feeling. Now slowly I'm getting used to it, of course. but the first couple laps, the first couple sessions was really difficult, especially with the tyres weight and then the power, of course.
Zonta, want to wish you best of luck and keep up that impressive work. Good luck on Sunday.
Thank you, I'll try my best.
Thanks to Simon and to Zonta van den Gorberg, and he does underline the strength of the Road to MotoGP program, as he mentioned, the fact that he can come straight from the Moto3 Junior World Championship into the Moto2 class and be competitive immediately just underlines the level right the way through the Road to MotoGP ladder, which of course is represented here this weekend as well. If you were joining us right at the start of this broadcast, the Asia Talent Cup returns this weekend. They'll be racing across the weekend. Keep your eye on MotoGP's social media channels and the Asia Talent Cup social media channels to catch both races live. But as we mentioned, we have the MotoGP class photo coming up. But before then, let's continue on our theme of rookies in Moto2. We've already heard from Filip Salac of the Gresini team. Let's hear now from his teammate who spent some time in Moto2 last year and competed for the championship all the way to the end. He's now a Moto2 rider, Alessandro Zacconi. He's with Simon.
Yeah, we all know his name, Zacconi from Moto2. You've moved up to Moto2 now for the whole season. Really curious, your first impressions of the Moto2 class.
Yeah, for sure the bike is, there is a big difference between Moto3 and Moto2. The bike is much more faster, the weight is less, but the bike is so funny. For sure I have to learn the bike, to learn the tire, because the level in this category is very high, and to be fast you have to learn very well the bike. But I like a lot. I want to learn this category, so I hope that during the season I will enjoy a lot.
Alessandro, for the fans, but also for me, can you give us a bit of a background of what you've raced, what classes you've raced until you've reached Moto E and now Moto2?
Yeah, I did the Super Sport before the Moto E. I did 2 years in the Super Sport with the Team Italian, then with them Via Augusta. Then I passed on Moto E because I dream for all of my life this paddock. So for me, entering on Moto E was a dream already, and now be here in a real world champion is amazing. I dream this moment from when I was a child, so it's amazing experience.
That's so nice to hear. We want to wish you the best of luck.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I hope to enjoy during this season. Thank you.
Oh, great to hear from the rookie there, Alessandro Zacconi. That feels like the perfect moment to say thanks to all the Moto2 riders. We look forward to seeing them do battle over the next 21 races from Sunday night, March the 6th to November the 6th at the Ricardo Tormo circuit in Valencia. But it is now time to turn our attention to the Premier Class, the 2022 MotoGP World Championship, arguably the most unpredictable and thrilling championship coming up over the next 21 races, as we said. Lewis, so excited for this. I mean, we seem to come into it every year thinking this is the best, the biggest and best MotoGP class we've ever had, but it certainly has that feeling. There's this special atmosphere when you come to the first Grand Prix. Everybody's full of anticipation, everybody's full of hype, and they're all chasing this man's crown. There he is, your reigning MotoGP World Champion. He lifted the title last year, 5 wins for the Monster Energy Yamaha team. A big threat coming, of course, from Ducati. Marc Marquez as well is back in action. Lewis, we can't wait.
Yeah, the moment has almost arrived, hasn't it? One of the most eagerly anticipated MotoGP seasons for many, many years. A changing of the guard in some ways, of course, because for the first time in the MotoGP era, we do not have a 46 on the front of a motorcycle, although we do have a 46 represented with the Mooney VR46 team, which was represented in MotoGP for the first time, looking to continue Valentino Rossi's incredible legacy over the last quarter of a century. But no, so much to get excited about. Every factory has a story behind it, and every factory will be coming into this season thinking that they can really compete at the front. Honda, who we're looking at now, are looking to bounce back after a tough couple of years, although they did show signs of recovery in the second half of last season once Marc Marquez returned to the fold. Yamaha, of course, defending with Fabio Quartararo the Riders' Championship. Ducati, who ended last year arguably as the team to beat. Suzuki on screen, very quietly doing a very strong job in pre-season testing. They look as if they're going to be right in the mix as well as they look to regain the title that Joan Mir won in 2020. KTM, of course, have shown their class over the last couple of years. They've joined the ranks now as MotoGP winners, and Aprilia looking to join them and complete the set of all 6 manufacturers and their new RSGP has shown signs in winter testing that Maverick Vinales and Aleix Espargaro can set their sights very high indeed.
It does feel so strange, so weird to be talking about a MotoGP grid, a MotoGP World Championship which doesn't, as Lewis mentioned, feature the Italian icon, the legend of Valentino Rossi. Of course, his presence, his influence still very much felt in this MotoGP World Championship, and for the very first time it's a landmark weekend in the life and career of Valentino Rossi, because for the first time in MotoGP he has a fully fledged factory team. There is one of his men, Marco Bezzecchi, third in the Moto2 World Championship last year, joined in that new squad, of course, by Luca Marini, and as he always does, it's the perfect timing from Simon Crafar. Looked really strong in that Mandalika test, did Luca Marini. He's got to keep the boss happy this year. He's down in pit lane with Simon.
Luca, as Matt Burt was just saying, you looked really strong, especially in the test in Mandalika, but both tests. And feels like step by step you're really marching towards the front. Does that feel the same to you?
Yeah, exactly. Like you said, last year was tough, but I learned a lot. And this year, with 1 year of experience, for sure, I can improve myself even more. The team is new, the bike is new. We need some work to do for sure, but the potential is good. My feelings on the bikes, especially in Mandalika, were great, and I hope to restart with that sensation also here, because I demonstrate to be competitive and to be fast, and I really want this year fight for the top position, because I'm enjoying a lot, and every year my passion and my love for this sport is growing a lot. I'm living a dream in MotoGP, so I want to achieve that great result that I want.
Luca, just before I let you go, you're got to be one of the tallest, if not the tallest rider. You're taller than me, and not many riders your size. I saw that you'd made some modifications to your bike. Is that part of the progress you're making, getting more comfortable as well as learning the riding side?
Yeah, exactly. Unfortunately, last year with no pre-season test, was just 2 days here in Qatar, was difficult to work on these details because everything was new. And I had a lot of rush for being fast, especially on lap time. I didn't work well on these details. While from this start of the season, in the test, we prepared different things on the ergonomic side that I learned from the experience of last year. And we put everything together and understand what I need more. And I think that here I have a good package. The bike now is suited for me. And this is great, so I hope to feel well also in this track, like was in Mandalika.
Luca, thank you for always being a gentleman. Want to wish you the best of luck this year.
Thank you so much. Ciao.
Yeah, thanks, Simon. Top man, top rider, isn't he, Luca Marini? Is he destined for the top step of the podium at some stage in his second season in the MotoGP World Championship? What a moment it's going to be as well for the Binder family here on Sunday night. The fairy tale scenario. 2 Binder brothers will start a MotoGP race together for the first time. Of course, Brad Binder back for another season with the Red Bull KTM factory racing team, but Darryn Binder forming part of the new With You Yamaha RNF squad. Pretty solid, you've got to say, a pre-season campaign from the South African Lewis. He didn't jump off the bike as many people thought he would do. He gained a lot of experience. Of course, he's jumping off the 10-metre board. Going into this field, probably, I don't think it's an exaggeration to say that this MotoGP field is probably the strongest we've ever had. We're up to 24 riders this year. There are 14 Grand Prix world champions. 23 of these guys, including Darryn Binder himself, have won at least one Grand Prix. Well, it's a perfect time to go down and speak to him. I'm sure he's a little bit nervous ahead of what's going to be probably the biggest weekend of his Grand Prix career, but we always love to hear the thoughts of Darryn Binder. He's such a character, and he's going to be a welcome addition to this MotoGP grid in 2022. Take it away, Simon.
Yeah, I agree with you, everything you said there, Matt. Hey, Darryn, you've done the few days, testing on the bike, and now it all really happens. I imagine there's some butterflies in there.
So far, so good. I mean, I'm pretty relaxed at the moment, but
Yeah, I think we'll see on Sunday evening when we roll out for the race. I think that's going to be when the butterflies really set in. But I'm so excited. I can't wait to kick off my first official weekend and starting with FP1 tomorrow and just take it as it comes. You know, I'm really keen to get this first race under my belt to see where I'm at and then just chip away from there.
Darryn, there's a lot of people, including me, watching your progress through the testing, and you know, you didn't get a lot, you know, considering you're going into the first race, but I watched, I think it was on day 2 of the test at Sepang, and saw that you were a half second slower than Dovi, and I thought, that is pretty damn good, you know, on the 1 year older bike, to be that close in the beginning. I'm wondering, from your point of view, how do you see the testing? Were you happy with it overall and with your progress?
Yeah, I mean, overall I'm happy. I mean, at the end of the day, quite a few times I had to remind myself that I came from Moto3 and that it's been a really big step. So, I mean, to finish 1.7 behind the fastest guy in the world, I mean, it's really not that far. Although I'm last, you know, it's really not that far. So, yeah, just got to keep chipping away. I mean, I think once I'm within a second, I'll be really happy. I feel like then you're really quite close. But overall, I mean, I took the days slowly but surely and made progress every day and didn't do anything crazy. So, yeah, I'm really happy with how things went, and I can't wait to see how this first weekend goes.
I know we need you for a photo in a moment, but last question, what, just for the listeners, I mean, you're the only one to do it this year. People have been saying about the massive step from Moto3 to Moto2, the power and the weight, but Moto3 to MotoGP. Please give the listeners an idea quickly what it was like.
Yeah, it's been insane. The biggest thing for me to adapt to was the power. I mean, the brakes are also definitely something to adapt to. You know, they are super strong, but the power was definitely the biggest thing for me. Like, I would just start getting used to it at like the end of the second day, go to sleep, wake up and start at zero again. You know, every morning I felt like the power really I had to catch up to. You know, I was always behind, one step behind the power. So that was definitely the most difficult thing. But yeah, also learning all the electronics and stuff has played a big part of it, but I'm still in that process, but at least I'm getting used to the speed right now.
Darryn, I better let you go and get your photo done. Thank you, as always, for talking to us.
Thank you, guys. Cheers.
Yeah, thanks to Darryn Binder. What a proud, special moment for the Binder family. There is older brother Brad, of course, ahead of his 3rd season in the MotoGP World Championship. I can't believe I actually said there that Darryn Binder was going to be nervous at this stage of the weekend. There is not a more laid-back guy in the world, let alone this paddock, than Darryn Binder, Lewis.
No, if he'd be any further laid back, he would literally be on the floor. He's a phenomenally relaxed young man, and he's got belief in his own ability, which is what you need at this level. And Razlan Razali was speaking when the news was broken that Darryn Binder was being signed for that team, that he likes to do something different. He likes to put some faith in a younger talent, and of course he did that to great success with Fabio Quartararo back in 2019. He was signed, of course he'd achieved a little bit further up the ladder than Darryn Binder had. Of course he'd won a Moto2 Grand Prix, but it did come a little bit from left field, that signing. And Darryn Binder's another one who perhaps didn't jump off the page last year as a rider who was a MotoGP talent in waiting, but boy is he proven himself as to, you know, in Moto3. He's shown his ability. He was probably in Moto3 longer than he should have been or needed to be, given how tall he was on that bike in the end. So perhaps his performances in the recent time in Moto3 don't quite do him justice, given how tall he was in that class. But he's going to do a cracking job, I think. As long as he learns and he does it slowly, he doesn't try and do too much too soon, I think he'll be absolutely fine. But who is likely to be competing at the very front of the grid in 2022? Ducati, of course, go in as the reigning constructors and teams champions, and a big part of that was Jack Miller. He's downstairs with Simon.
He is. He's playing a couple of jokes at the moment, but he's with us. Jack, you're one of the more, believe it or not, it sounds strange to say that, but more experienced guys now. All these young boys coming in. I want to know how winter testing went for you and how you turn up to Qatar feeling.
Yeah, veteran at the ripe old age of 27, so no, it feels good. But no, testing was good. You know, it was nice to
The off-season was good, just nice to go home and sort of switch off for a bit. And no, testing was a lot of fun. We were busy, you know, we had a lot of stuff to get through, but it feels good, you know, everything sort of feels normal again, being back here this time of the year with the testing being in other countries and stuff like that, so not being locked in a bubble. It's been fantastic, and no, really looking forward to getting the season underway. I feel good coming in, you know, as you said, I am getting on now in terms of my experience in MotoGP, and I feel it, you know, it feels just, you kind of get used to these things, and also the way to deal, let's say, with the pressure coming into the season, I feel pretty good. So, you know, it's all well and good saying that now, but we'll have to see what we can do come Sunday.
Jack, I've been saying to anyone that'll listen that you can't read much into the times of the tests, you know, because it depends on who put the soft one in. Was the soft tyre going to even come to the race? And also that there's a lot of weight on the factory riders for each manufacturer, you know, the schedule they had to run through. So it's very hard to see clearly where everybody genuinely is, not just on fastest lap time. I'm curious, where do you feel you are?
I feel good. You know, as you said, I mean, we weren't trying for lap times at the test. I was pretty busy testing with what we had, and you know, we managed. I had a fall in the race sim, the first one that got going of the year, but on the last day there in Mandalika, but managed to get back out on the other bike and put 20 solid laps together before we had another little issue with the bike, but no, I felt good, really good, and you know, it feels nice when you can sort of, you get to this age where you don't feel like you need to prove anything and that sort of thing. You can just sort of understand what it is, do your work, do your job, try and get as well prepared as what we can. So, I mean, testing's testing, you know, it's always fantastic. Last year I was king of testing, but that didn't really work out when the season got underway. So I'll try to take a different approach this year, and we'll see how it goes.
Hey, last one for you is looking at, well, you've said it really about preparing, and it's not all about how fast it's in testing. And a lot of people, including Ducati and me, believe that you have the talent to step up to being one of those consistent, I always call them those consistent four guys that are always there, that end up fighting for the championship. And Ducati told me they firmly believe that you've got the talent and drive to do it. I want to know your opinion. Do you think you can step up this one and fight in that four this year?
I'd definitely like to. You know, as I said, so I'm trying to come in with a different mentality, a different sort of approach to my racing, you know, and having already a year under my belt in the factory team and so on, it feels good. So, I mean, you know, anything's possible. We'll just, as I said, just try and chip it away. You certainly can't win the championship here in Qatar, but you can definitely lose it or make it hard for yourself. So we'll just try to, you know, start from here, build a solid foundation, and like you say, just keep ticking it away. We're, you know, hopefully, as we started the interview out, hopefully my age can come into play and I'll be able to use my brain a little bit more often.
Okay. On a lighter note, I know I said that was the last question, but I thought something I should let the listeners know. I hope you don't mind. I saw you arrive here in Qatar with a lovely lady on your arm, and I've never seen Jack Miller with a lovely lady walking around next to him. Can you tell us about this lovely lady I saw?
Yeah, no, I mean, found someone who can put up with me for a little bit, so well, hopefully she'll stick around for a bit longer. No.
Jack, thanks, and good luck, buddy.
Thanks, mate.
Yeah, cheers, Simon. Thanks to Jack Miller, as always. A happy rider is a fast rider, so we expect big things from Jack Miller, of course. Tough task for him to hold on to that prized factory Ducati seat. There you go, then. 12 teams will line up in this MotoGP World Championship this year. The fastest bikes on the planet, ridden by the fastest men as well. We welcome, of course, the Gresini Racing MotoGP team. They're on Ducatis with the rookie Fabio Di Gianantonio and the very impressive in winter testing Enea Bastianini. And, of course, Mooney VR46 Racing team. They're fielding Ducatis as well. The With You Yamaha RNF team, in addition to the grid as well, after the demise of the Petronas Yamaha SRT team. But there's so much pre-season talk. Every rider that we've seen on screen so far, you look at him, Lewis, and go, oh, well, he can win a race. He can definitely be on the podium. It's so tough to call, but there just seems to be this kind of feeling, this aura around Marc Marquez, that we know that this radically new Honda seems to have eradicated a lot of their problems with rear grip. Marquez and Espargaro look very, very strong in Mandalika. Espargaro, of course, was fastest man in that Indonesia test. But there's this feeling from the people I'm talking to in the paddock, Lewis, that Marquez is here to make up for lost time. These two injury-ravaged seasons, 2020 and 2021. He's back to full fitness. Honda look like they're back in the game, and that's going to be a very potent combination. Most people are actually now thinking that Marquez might just be a marginal pre-season favourite for this title.
Yeah, I mean, the big question, I suppose, is will Marc Marquez just pick up where he left off in 2019, where he was perhaps the last time he was fully fit? I suppose the last time he was fully fit was in the Grand Prix at Jerez at the start of 2020, where he was tearing his way through the field. He does have that glint in his eye, doesn't he? We saw him when he spoke at Honda's Media Day back in January, when it was confirmed that he would be heading to Sepang, and he had that air about him. He seemed very, very confident, very, very relaxed, and very, very relieved, I suppose. There were feelings and fears when he suffered that injury, which ruled him out of the final two races of last season. He had the double vision once again, that this could potentially be a career-threatening injury. We just didn't know. We had to wait, as Marc did, for the situation to settle down again and for his vision to return to normal. Because he pointed out, this isn't like any kind of injury that you can just ride through, that you can just grit your teeth and get through it. If you can't see properly, you can't see properly. And until Marc Marquez could, he wasn't getting on a motorcycle again. So it's a great relief for him. Perhaps he feels a little bit of a weight off his shoulders, that he can go and compete again. And it's the first time in a number of years that Marc Marquez enters a season anything approaching fully fit. He's had injury problems across the last 3 or 4 off seasons. So I think Marc Marquez is just relieved and relaxed to be coming into a season something approaching full fitness. Well, we can hear from him now and hear just what kind of feeling Marc Marquez has ahead of this season as he looks to regain the MotoGP World title that he last won in 2019. Marc Marquez is speaking to Simon.
He is, Marc. I've got to say, the testing, when you looked behind the fastest lap times, what you're really doing on race pace, you looked damn good. I'm wondering how you felt.
Yeah, of course I feel much better than Indonesia test. This is something important. Malaysia, Indonesia, I suffer a lot about physical condition. Already Indonesian test was better, so I feel a lot a big step after Indonesia test. I was 3 days destroyed, but then I feel a big step on my physical condition, so this is important. And I arrive here in acceptable way, in acceptable performance, acceptable conditions. Then the performance we will see during the weekend. It's a circuit that is not one of my best circuits, but we will try to start in a good way.
Marc, thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks, Simon. Thanks to Marc Marquez. It's great to have him back. We want Marquez to be flying in all things. I'm going to make myself feel really old now. This is Marquez's 10th season in the MotoGP World Championship, and what a decade it has been. Simon, you've got some additional thoughts?
Yeah, just in case the listeners wanted to know why I didn't hold him there, he answered my second question, which was the physical condition, and I've got to say I feel sorry for him, because since he's walked out here, I've been watching, trying to catch him, and he's had to do interview after interview after interview, and I just thought, I got to give the guy a break, just ask him one thing, leave him to it. So I'll try and catch someone now who is bothered a little bit less by us press guys.
Yeah, he's a popular figure, isn't he, in this paddock, with good reason. Marc Marquez, without question, he's going to be a big threat for the championship this year. When you look at those main contenders, you don't really have to look too far further than, well, our current world champion Fabio Quartararo, obviously Pecco Bagnaia, who had an incredible breakthrough season on the factory Ducati. And what about this man? Bagnaia and both Marc Marquez believe that this young man, Jorge Martin, could be a serious title contender in 2022. Well, part of the learning curve, a big learning curve ahead for rookie Marco Bezzecchi. Actually caught the eye with some impressive lap times in both Sepang and in Mandalika. I'm delighted to say the new Mooney VR46 Racing Team rider is with Simon down in pit lane.
He is. Marco, I know there's a very long way to go, a lot of circuits to try this new machine out and learn, but I was super impressed with your first tests on the bike, you know, at Malaysia and Indonesia, and even the race run simulation you did is like first time was, from my point of view, very impressive. How did you feel on the bike?
Yeah, it was a nice pre-season testing for me. I had a very good feeling overall, Malaysia and Indonesia, and especially I enjoy a lot riding. I was like a kid
with his favorite toy, so for me it was a very special moment. And now being here in Qatar, I still have a lot to learn, especially for the race distance, because I tried only once, like you said. But can't complain, and really looking forward to go and to enjoy a lot.
Thank you, Marco.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks to Marco Bezzecchi. Exciting times for him. Dream come true moment for all the rookies to be lining up, particularly against this man, the owner of that motorcycle, number 93, Marc Marquez. This is a radically overhauled RC213V, the biggest change in concept, Honda bosses say, in the entire modern four-stroke MotoGP era, which of course it's its 20th anniversary this year. Honda, Lewis, were never going to take these last couple of years lying down. They were always going to retaliate, and it looks like this new RC213V, when you look at Aleix Espargaro, quickest in Mandalika, Marc Marquez looking really, really strong in terms of his race pace. He didn't go for time attacks, and Nakagami and Alex Marquez also looking pretty happy. It looks like the Honda engineers have done an incredible job to make that bike crucially more user-friendly.
Absolutely. The big thing that the riders spoke about last season was a lack of rear grip. They feel they've got that now, and Aleix Espargaro was beaming throughout the pre-season with the performance of that new motorcycle. As you can see, it is the most visibly different motorcycle on the grid. There is so much that is different about it, and Honda want to prove that it isn't just Marc Marquez, that they can be competitive with and without him. Of course, they'll hope to have him in the ranks throughout this season. He'll have plenty of competition though, will Marc Marquez, if he does want to add a 9th world title, particularly from the Ducati family and not just the factory teams. Jorge Martin heading into his 2nd MotoGP season. Of course, he took pole position here at the 2nd of our Losail races last season and went on to finish on the podium. He'll be looking to join the podium on a much more frequent basis, and who knows, perhaps even an outside shot at the title. How's Jorge feeling ahead of the opening race of the season? Simon's with him.
Yes, I am. Jorge, you stormed onto the scene last year, made a massive impression, went through some rough times first year on the MotoGP bike. I want to know how you feel now, 12 months on, coming in as no longer a rookie.
Yeah, feeling great, feeling much more faster, much more experienced also. This is really important. And yeah, stronger than last year in general. I feel confident for the season. I feel in test. We were missing a bit of riding because we had some issues with different electronics and with some engines, but finally back on track, ready for everything. I feel great and really looking forward.
Can you tell me what the big difference is from last year as a rookie till now? What is the, where does the confidence come from?
Well, I think, confidence comes from results, for sure. That's the first thing. And then about the performance, I think we improve a lot in entry and also cornering. So I think we can do a great season. Even in the tracks where we struggle a bit, we will be stronger. And yeah, also about the base of the bike, I'm feeling great, I'm feeling better. And yeah, let's see, everybody improves always, but I think I am more consistent and I can fight for more races.
Jorge, thank you for your time. Good luck.
Thank you, Simon.
Yeah, thanks to Jorge Martin, thanks to Simon Crowfoot, without any question. If he's able to build on that momentum gained throughout an excellent 2021, and crucially, if he can stay fit, sometimes Jorge Martin doesn't bounce particularly well, does he? But injury prone throughout his career. But if he's fit and happy on that new GP 2022, well, watch out, because he will be a big threat. And what about that young man there? Enea Bastianini, fastest with a record-breaking 158.131 in the opening test in Sepang. Looked strong again inside the top 10 in the Mandalika test on the proven race-winning GP21. A lot of people think Bastianini can emerge as a regular race-winning threat. One man who certainly will, without any question, on a very improved Suzuki GSX-RR throughout the winter, is our 2020 MotoGP World Champion. He badly wants that title back. Let's hear the pre-season thoughts of Joan Mir with Simon.
Yes, he is. Joan, as you know, I love watching all the riders closely, and the last 2 years especially, every time you've got on the bike, almost every time, you've been extremely impressive. You know, all your decisions, how you ride, awesome. And it's why you always fight, if not for the title last year, close, always there. And your bike has improved, it looks like to me from the outside. Since last year, it looks like a little bit more competitive, and I can imagine what's going through your mind. Is this another year to fight? for the title?
Yes, of course. Well, every year we got that determination, we got that constancy, but we didn't get the speed. So I think that this year, with a little bit more of help from Suzuki and yeah, with a better bike, I think that we are able to fight closer. And if we keep our determination and different stuff and different things, I think that we can fight again for the title.
The bike has always been, and the combination of you and the bike, always been good on tyres, you know. Also Alex, of keeping the tyres going, but in the race it's often been a nightmare in the fight, how you have to overuse the front, you know, occasionally bump into riders, and I try to explain to people it's because it's the only chance you have to get past is to force your way through, you know. And I want to know, with that little bit of extra speed, is it going to take, you're hoping, a bit of pressure off that front tyre and having to take the risk that you've had to do in the last 12 months?
I hope. The truth is that, okay, we improved, but also the others improved. Here in Qatar will be really important, the first race, is to understand our real potential of the bike. This will be the key. As you said, last year we always, to overtake, I was really on the limit, and I had to do some risky maneuvers, sometimes with contact. That is not my style, you know. But well, I think that we can do a good season.
I know you can. Best of luck.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Simon. Thanks to Joan Mir. Always love listening to him, and just like Simon, absolutely love watching that guy ride. The way he goes about his business is a real example to some of the younger guys coming through. He's got that never give up attitude. Reunited, of course, there, the past and present riders for crew chief Alberto Girabiola, who was with Andrea Dovizioso the last two times Andrea was here, of course, on the factory Ducati. He was a race winner in fairly boring encounters against Marc Marquez. Two of the closest MotoGP finishes we've ever seen. We'll have more of that on Sunday night, please, gentlemen. But Enea Bastianini, we just talked about him briefly, Lewis. A few people stood to attention after that eye-catching display in Sepang. He's on that proven GP21. Let's just talk or look quickly at the world champ. We haven't seen too much of him, looking relatively relaxed, taking some liquid on board before he comes out for this grid shot. There is the motorcycle that stands on top of the World Championship right now coming into 2022. There's been a few doubts about how the Yamaha has developed in the winter, a bit of criticism coming the way from Fabio Quartararo, and he knows that armada of Ducatis, 8 Ducatis, and Bastianini on that proven GP21, he's going to be there, isn't he, Lewis? He's going to be a dark horse for that top 5 every week, no question.
Absolutely. First of all, on Fabio Quartararo, I spoke to him yesterday at the pre-event when we visited the World Cup final stadium coming up this year. He seemed very relaxed, and he was talking about how he feels he's the best he's ever been, crucially, in MotoGP, and I think that's the way Fabio Quartararo is going to have to approach this season. He's already spoken in pre-season. I think he's getting fed up of talking about the perceived or the relative lack of top speed that Yamaha has, and he's going to have to ride around it. He's going to have to do his own job and try and perform at his own maximum and try and ride around that problem. He's going to have plenty of competition from all 5 other factories, because of course Aprilia look as if they're well and truly in the game this season. Aleix Espargaro on screen there. Now you can see his motorcycle. Now let's hear from him. Simon's talking to it.
Yes, Aleix, I was so impressed to see how much work Aprilia had done when I first saw your bike sitting in the garage in Malaysia, and I was genuinely worried that with the freeze off, everyone would take a big step forward and maybe you would lose that competitive edge you had last year. Aprilia had built up with your hard work, but it looks from the outside that you haven't. You've taken the step forward the others have. From your side, do you feel this is true, or how did the testing go?
Yeah, I fully agree with you. Actually, I was worried as you. But I think that we really, obviously was clear that we really used the advantage of freezing engines and freezing concessions last year, and this year we keep working the same. The feeling that I have is that the job we did on these last 2 years is the job that every manufacturer did every single season in 6 months, you know. So we just been a bit slow, but we are getting there. We are improving. That's clear. We are getting closer. Again, the advantage we had 2 years ago with the freezing concessions obviously was clear, but we take profit of it, and now looks like the Aprilia is closer to the best bikes of the grid.
and you think this genuinely could be the year that you even improve your best ever results for you and the Aprilia?
I hope. I mean, the bike is clearly better than last year one. Last year I managed to finish 8th in the championship with 130 points. So the next step will be try to achieve close to 200 points, and this means top 6, top 5. So this have to be the goal. It's going to be very difficult. You know, the level this year is fucking insane. The bikes, the teams, the riders is super high. You can finish very easy 14, 12 in one race. So the challenge is huge, but we're here to compete, so I'm ready.
Aleix, thank you and good luck.
Thanks, mate.
Yeah, thanks for Aleix Espargaro. Just a quick apology for his choice of phrase there, but he's right. He's describing what will be an incredibly tight and close 2022 MotoGP World Championship. Aprilia look like they've got the best RSGP they've ever had, and this obviously looks like being Aprilia's strongest ever lineup. Aleix Espargaro partnered by Maverick Vinales, seeking redemption in many respects after a horrendous year with Yamaha, of course, split from the team halfway through last season. Some solid performances when he jumped on the Aprilia towards the back end of last year, but now time to take the next step. Pecco Bagnaia and Luca Marini having a close look at the world champions motorcycle there. He's kept a low profile so far, hasn't he, the Monster Energy Yamaha world champ, Fabio Quartararo, but he is coming to the grid.
He won't be keeping a low profile when you see the colour of his hair, by the way, if you get a glimpse of that underneath his baseball cap. He's gone for the bleach blonde look that served him so well when he won here last year, Fabio Quartararo, so keep an eye out for that when he appears on the grid. And we need to, I think, remember this when we talk about Fabio Quartararo and Yamaha's pre-season, of course. A lot of talk has been that Yamaha have been in something approaching a crisis with Quartararo and the team not getting the improvement in power they necessarily wanted going into 2022. But we can't remember, or we shouldn't forget, sorry, that that's the motorcycle and the rider that won the World Championship last season and won it with something to spare too. It wasn't as if Fabio Quartararo was scrambling around in Valencia trying to get that championship won. He'd already won it. And although he did struggle representative to the Ducatis in those final 2 races of the season, they were something resembling dead rubbers. So perhaps whether there was something on the line, Fabio Quartararo might have been able to get a little bit more out of that Yamaha. And it is a motorcycle that excels here. We think of the Losail International Circuit as a circuit that really does suit the Ducatis with their speed down the main straight. But Yamaha have won more Grand Prix here than any other factory put together. They've won 10 MotoGP races around here, including both last year. Maverick Vinales taking the opening victory and Fabio Quartararo taking the second in pretty impressive circumstances too, having dropped all the way down to 10th early on in the Grand Prix and fighting his way through. So write Fabio Quartararo and Yamaha off at your peril, because although they haven't had the pre-season they would have wanted, he is still the defending world champion, and he's the world champion for a reason.
Well, it's Vive la France. Great shot there. Lorenzo Fallon from the 658 Squadra Corsa Moto3 team, and of course our 2 top men from France in the MotoGP World Championship, Fabio Quartararo and Joan Zarco, just posing for some photos there with French Grand Prix promoter Claude Michy. Good to see Claude in the paddock, of course, prepping for what will it be, round 7, I believe, the French Grand Prix. Date for Darryn, May the 15th. Everybody just having those sort of little wanders around everybody else's motorcycle. This is the closest that you can get to checking out the competition, of course, instead of stinging it out on circuit. Fabio Quartararo there, as you'd expect, being quickly mobbed by the TV cameras. That's Greek TV grabbing a word with the reigning world champion. His defence starts here. Make a note for your diaries. 6 p.m. local time on Sunday night is when the 2022 MotoGP World Championship campaign will get underway. The longest in history, 21 Grand Prix. And there is a man who's done so much to turn this great championship into an even greater championship in many respects. Carmelo Ezpeleta, the long-serving Dorna Chief Executive Officer, who's done, as we said, a remarkable job in making this, for so many people, we're biased, of course, the greatest motorsport show on earth, and loving this new group photo for the MotoGP class, this gathering of the grid. We get to see all the new liveries close up, all the new motorcycles, and the 24 men, the 24 fastest riders in the world who will slug it out this year for motorcycle racing's biggest prize, the MotoGP world title.
Absolutely, and I mean, this was an innovation that was brought in due to COVID, wasn't it, back at the start of 2020, with the riders socially distanced on the grid. But it certainly works, doesn't it? And in many ways, you can expect the action on Sunday night, once the sun sets here in Qatar, to be just as close. This circuit very rarely fails to deliver in terms of exciting MotoGP racing. 2 of the top 5 closest top 15s in history in the MotoGP World Championship are here and were last year, including the closest of all, less than 9 seconds. 8.9 seconds covered the top 15 in the Doha Grand Prix last year. Qatar delivers that kind of racing, and the field looks closer than ever, and we expect a similar kind of race in 3 nights' time.
I just love this shot here of Luca Marini, Jack Miller and Joan Zarco. They've just fixated on the front of that Repsol Honda, which is in the ownership this year of Marc Marquez. They're all trying to figure out how come this new Honda looks like it could be a world beater again. Marc Marquez, of course, let's not forget, despite all of his physical problems last year and despite the obvious problems that the Honda had last year, he was still able to win 3 Grand Prix. Yes, 2 on his beloved Sachsenring and in Austin, but you can see there, Miller, Marini and Zarco, they know how good Marc Marquez is, make no question, and they know if that Honda has improved, the guy will be hard to beat this year. Let's pop back down quickly then to Simon Crafar, a man who knows all about how great Joan Mir is, and he knows about how significant the steps forward Suzuki have made throughout winter testing. We can hear from Mir's crew chief Frankie Carcetti. Down with Simon now.
Yeah, while the riders are out on the front straight getting a photo in, Frankie, I'd love to hear from you. I know you can't tell us anything that'll get you in trouble, but I'd love your general feeling of where you are now going into the season compared to where you were 12 months ago. Is Suzuki closer, and is your rider Joan Mir? He's always doing right, you know, for getting the right points and fighting for the championship, but it feels like he's closer, at least from the outside.
Yeah, I think COVID seriously hit us last year. I mean, the factory closed down. We were in a lot of difficulty, especially at the start of the year. And then, as you saw at the end of the year, we came on really strong, and we fixed, I hope, a few of the weaker points.
You mean for this season in the winter, you fixed a few of the weaker points, or you mean at the end of last year?
Yeah, both, a bit of both. I think one of the crucial points was obviously qualifying. You know, you can't qualify 4th, 5th row, and then we did a front row and a second row, so there was obvious improvements, and I think we even topped FP3 a few times, which is like a mini qualifying. So the signs there are good. And then in the winter, because of this, we almost were able to make a double effort of catching up. So there was without mentioning any specific areas, obviously the engine is one that's quite been spoken about, well spoken about. But a little bit everywhere, a bit of aero, the device, you know, now we've got the device working and we were able to make quite big steps. And all in all, it's been good. I think the only thing was we just had, again, COVID struck us in Mandalika, and we basically, it was just almost impossible day 2. And then day 3, we didn't even go out. Joan wasn't well, and it was quite easy to just say, yeah, let's wrap up there. But no, quietly, we're happy.
Great to hear from you, Frankie, and I'm sure all the fans want to join me in wishing you and Joan best of luck this year.
Thanks very much, mate.
Yeah, thanks to Simon Crafar, thanks to Frankie Carcetti, former world champion, now of course Joan Mir's crew chief. It did seem like Suzuki made big strides forward with their aero, with their ride height device, with their engine in particular, of course, with the engine development freeze lifted for 2022. Most factories, not sure about Yamaha, listening to some of the comments of Fabio Quartararo, seem to have made a step forward in terms of horsepower and top speed performance. Of course, this Qatar venue will be a great test of top speed. Joan Zarco last year set a new MotoGP top speed record, which was matched by Brad Binder's KTM over in Mugello. But here you go then, folks. This is what it's all about. The big boys are back in town. 24 riders. It's the elite of the elite. 14 Grand Prix world champions. A new record for the full-time MotoGP entry list on the opening Grand Prix weekend. 24 Grand Prix world championships between them. 12 on the full-time MotoGP entry list have already won Premier class races. 23 of these young men, of the 20 24 you're looking at right now who'll do battle in the longest ever MotoGP World Championship. I've already won one Grand Prix. We welcome 5 rookies: Darryn Binder, Fabio Di Giannantonio, Remy Gardner, the reigning Moto2 World Champion, Raul Fernandez, big expectations for him as well, and Marco Bezzecchi. Marc Marquez is back. Fabio Quartararo is the reigning World Champion. But this is showtime here tomorrow at the Losail International Circuit in Qatar. We can't wait. I'm sure you at home can't wait. Lewis, the 2022 FIM MotoGP World Championship looks like it's all set to be the best we've ever had in history.
Absolutely. There is no slow coaches on this grid, are there? There are 24 elite riders, as you mentioned, who've all got incredible pedigree, incredible CVs. Aleix Espargaro there looking to complete the set. He's the only rider on this grid without a Grand Prix win, and he's showed signs in pre-season testing that Aprilia can perhaps carry him to one this season. He's got a very good record around here too, so keep an eye on him throughout the weekend. We've got the established names, but we've also got riders who are looking to join that elite group, the likes of Enea Bastianini, who's been very quick through pre-season testing, Luca Marini too, who has a 2022 Ducati at his disposal, and as you mentioned, the rookies all look as if they're going to make an impression, 2 of whom really set a whole new standard in Moto2 last year. Remy Gardner and Raul Fernandez at the back of the picture on the Tech 3 KTMs utterly dominated the intermediate class last season and set each other up to hit brand new heights. Raul Fernandez setting the kind of numbers in Moto2 as a rookie that only Marc Marquez has really done before him. So he is a serious competitor in this class as well, as is Fabio Di Giannantonio. Had a little bit of a tricky pre-season. He was ill back at Sepang, but he did come back to perform very well indeed across both pre-season tests. And Darryn Binder, this is where it all becomes real for him as he moves up from Moto3 to MotoGP. For all 5 of the rookies, as they join their fellow competitors on the Premier Class grid this season, it all feels very real. And tomorrow, just in the early afternoon here in Qatar, of course, because we race from afternoon into the evening as we go through all 3 days of this Grand Prix weekend. Tomorrow afternoon, the first track action of this MotoGP season, where the questions that we've been asking since November last year begin to be answered.
Already, what, less than 24 hours before free practice gets underway tomorrow afternoon here at the Losail International Circuit in Qatar. You can feel that special sense of anticipation building in the air. It's the unique atmosphere, of course, here, the unique selling point of the floodlit night race. We've been coming to Qatar since 2004. Where have those 18 years gone? Without any question, though, this is the strongest field we're looking at. Darryn Binder there, he's made that ginormous leap up from Moto3 to MotoGP. If he needs inspiration, well, Jack Miller has enjoyed a very successful Premier Class career, having made the same leap himself back in 2015. But that is the man who they're all chasing, Fabio Quartararo, the 22-year-old from Nice, a 9 times Grand Prix winner, 8 in the Premier Class. Although we have to say it wasn't a strong finish to 2021. No win in 6 since the British Grand Prix at Silverstone, but it is his name. He's got the target on his back, trying to defend the #1 plate. Can he do it? Well, that's one of the several big questions going into this hugely hyped and hugely anticipated 2022 MotoGP World Championship. The time for talking is soon to stop. Actions speak louder than words, and we are set for action in 2022. Marc Marquez, can he reclaim the crown that he last won? Seems like a long time ago now, doesn't it? Back in 2019, where all but 1 Grand Prix this man finished inside the top 2. He's desperate to make up for lost time, as we said, an injury-ravaged last couple of years. Jack Miller, he always looks super relaxed. There's plenty at stake for the Australian, of course. Pecco Bagnaia, we should remind you, he has just signed up a new 2-year factory Ducati contract. He's on board the Ducati Lenovo team bike for 2023 and 2024, and there's a lot of hungry young riders who want Jack Miller's seat next season and beyond. So these are uncertain times we live in for so many people, and while in the context of what's going on in the world, MotoGP might seem insignificant, sport has a unique way of uniting people and offering a bit of escapism. We certainly hope the spectacular show MotoGP will undoubtedly provide in 2022 will bring that little bit of light into our living rooms for 21 weekends over the next 8 months. We race together in MotoGP. We race for diversity and inclusion in MotoGP, and we join the sporting world in saying, MotoGP, we race for peace. We are united for peace. So there are your 24 men then who will line up for the big season opener here in Qatar on Sunday night. Plenty to look forward to in 2022, of course. In just a couple of weeks' time, the field will assemble at the Mandalika International Street Circuit in Indonesia. Our first visit to Indonesia in 25 long years. Can't wait for that one, Lewis. Of course, plan return as well to Finland. We so hope that we can return to our flyaway races. We know fans in Thailand, in Japan, in Malaysia and Australia, they're desperate to see their heroes in person. We are desperate to get back to some semblance of normality. We love racing in front of all you guys. We sincerely hope that we are going to get a full scheduled 20-round World Championship this year.
Absolutely, it's looking that way. It's, you know, there are so many places that we've been missing over the course of this last 2 and a bit years of MotoGP. So many great circuits that we're looking forward to visiting, seeing MotoGP around the likes of Phillip Island once again, to Bezzecchi, of course, who we've not been in recent years. Of course, Buriram came onto the MotoGP calendar with such a great bang back in 2018 with that thrilling battle between Marc Marquez and Andrea Dovizioso. So it's got every ingredient, hasn't it, for a thrilling MotoGP season, and we're just hours away from the first action getting underway.
Yeah, Pecco Bagnaia just talking to Spanish TV, DAZN. Let's go down and hear from Simon Cravo, who's got one of the 5 rookies with him, one of the hottest prospects in Grand Prix motorcycle racing, a sensational maiden season in Moto2 last year. No wonder he was keen and quick to get up to MotoGP. Big expectations for Raul Fernandez at Tech 3 KTM. I'm delighted to say he's down in pit lane with Simon.
He is. Raul, I really enjoy catching up with the rookies because they always come in and change our sport. I want to know your first impressions of the MotoGP bike and how the winter testing went for you.
Yeah, for me it was good, the winter test. But anyway, I need to work race by race. I don't have one goal for this season. It's try to learn for the future, and this is the principal goal now. I don't want to think too much about the result, about the position, about the time. I want to enjoy. I want to enjoy my first MotoGP season, and this is the principal goal now.
Raul, I imagine there's a lot to learn about getting these machines and tyres to the end of the race, you know, on those long distances. Can you give us an idea what you are learning about the big machine compared to Moto2?
Yeah, but it's difficult because never I did a one long run, and it's difficult. But maybe after the weekend I can say the difference. Now I cannot say nothing.
Okay, and I noticed, yeah, you just for the listeners, you banged your head and didn't ride, I imagine, on the day you were going to do it. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay. So we look forward to see what you can do this weekend. We look forward to see what you can do this weekend, and best of luck.
Yeah, thank you. But I don't know the position. I will work.
No, I don't expect you to know.
Yeah. You don't. How you say?
I don't expect you to know. I'm just saying we look forward to see what you can achieve this weekend, and yeah. Best of luck learning in this new class.
No, I need learning. I don't hope nothing position. I want to go train by train and enjoy.
Okay. Good luck.
Thank you.
Yeah, he's hot property, no question. KTM have got themselves a gem on their hands there with Raul Fernandez. It's going to be a fascinating fight for that Rookie of the Year prize. The Marquez boys reunited on a MotoGP grid. Aleix Marquez, he's been pretty happy and content with the improvements to that RC213V as well. Of course, there's this fascinating subplot which will rage behind the scenes in MotoGP this year. There are only 4 riders, Marc Marquez being one of them. Who else have we got? Franco Morbidelli, Brad Binder and now Pecco Bagnaia, they are the only 4 guys that have got contracts already signed, sealed and delivered for 2023. So that's going to be a fascinating subplot. There's so much conjecture already, lots of rumours about Joan Mir, although the good news for Suzuki after the big steps they made with that GSX-RR, some comments attributed to the 2020 world champion over the last couple of days. His priority is to now stay with Suzuki. That will be music to the ears, of course, of new team boss Livio Suppo. We welcome him back, of course, as well. So that's all we've got time for here today at the Losail International Circuit. That's all from myself, Lewis and Simon. Free practice gets underway tomorrow at 11:50 a.m. local time here in Doha with Lewis and my colleague Neil Morrison. MotoGP FP1 kicks off at 1:40 p.m. local time. We look forward to your company over the next 8 months. Have a great 2022.
MotoGP? MotoGP rapido.
Excellent stuff. Whoa. Very, very aggressive. Battles back again.
Things could be worse.
Side by side. Wow. Absolutely nothing.
We have the comedy.